Hello. You're muted.
Hello,
Hi, who's there?
Karen Shavanka.
Oh, hi, Karen.
Who am I talking to?
This is Miriam DeFont. Are you
Oh,
planning on being at the Conservation Commission meeting?
yes.
Okay,
Okay.
we haven't
Um,
started
w-
yet.
okay. I'm going to just put the phone down for a few minutes. I'm going to put the phone down for a few minutes. Be
All right.
right back.
Okay.
Papers are up probably in the mailbox. When I'm done.
Hi, Lisa. You're muted.
Hello,
Hi there. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I've had a busy day.
I can imagine.
Yeah, there are a lot of things going on here. I'll just mention it because I was going to bring it up later, but when I sent you that list, I sent an email with a list of the documents used that we should include in the minutes.
Oh, okay.
So I tried to put
Great.
together as many documents as I thought, but I realized that I left out all of the site visit forms.
Okay.
So I will send that to you.
Okay.
After
I
the
think
meeting.
I think those are already in the land use email, so I can just refer to them.
Yeah, because especially for the 31 Lakeview Road discussion, we should be referencing. I don't want to have the minutes be challenged, so
Yeah.
I want to make sure we're referencing the documents that we're using. So there were two site
Right.
visits. There was one on Sunday on October 10th, and then there was one on the 13th yesterday.
Right.
Um,
All right. I will reference all of those.
And Penny's coming
Oh, okay.
to deal with the piece that involves EDEP.
Okay. I tried to log into that today, and the password I had didn't seem to be
Well,
allowing me in.
that's weird.
Yeah.
I got in and then I freaked out because the draft wasn't finished. And then I was like, oh my God, what do we do?
What do we do
I'm not
for
prepared to
tonight?
finish this thing.
Yeah.
But I think Penny's got it all in hand. So thank
Great.
God for that.
Great.
And looks like we got a few people joining in. Hi, Mary.
Hello. My computer I didn't even ask it to connect me and it connected me. So
Very good.
it's like, okay.
Magically got here.
It's like, okay, usually it's disconnecting me.
Universe
We'll
wants
we'll
you. Universe wants you here.
Yeah, I was gonna say, we'll see if changing my router will help keep me, although I'm a little blurry here.
Oh, here comes. I got another land use clerk signing in. Why is that? Hi, Joe. Joe, do you mind if we rename you? I'm not sure who the other land use clerk is.
Oh, I wonder if that's Penny.
It might be. Penny, is that you under land use clerk? Okay.
I think I'm in as the other land use clerk, but I don't understand why. I came in through the regular meeting link.
Yeah, I don't know why that is. Do you want to rename yourself?
Sure, but I got in trouble for that last time.
Well, I can change your name if you want me to do it.
I can change it. What I was told is if you change it.
Hold on one second. Robin's calling. Hi, Robin.
This is great. This is worse.
I don't know. Maybe we didn't email it out, but
I
if you
email it-
go
I-
on the town website, you can go under calendars.
Yeah, I had to go under the website.
I think nobody mailed out a link.
I did yesterday.
Oh, you did mail a
Yeah,
link.
I mailed
Penny
out
says
the
she mailed out
agenda
a
and a
link.
link yesterday.
Thirteen.
Excuse me, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, sorry, I was just checking. I'm using
Okay,
it.
do you
somebody
know
else's
how to go to the
computer.
town website and look under the calendar? I think it's under meetings. Yeah, there's a bar. No, you know, meetings, I think it is. And there's a calendar, click on the calendar. And then find the link, our meeting and click on it. It'll open up the agenda in the link, Zoom link. Have it. Okay. That's okay. There you are, Robin. Okay, we got you. Okay. Oh, poor baby. Okay, I'm gonna say goodbye. Bye. Hi, guys. Okay, so we got one more minute to go.
So,
And-
so I can't get my name to change.
Do you want me to change you?
Yes, and I think it's because I'm using the Concom, the land use clerk PC, Matt.
I just renamed you. I
Okay.
see somebody named iPhone. I'm wondering if they could tell us who they are for the minutes.
Yes, hi Miriam, it's Mary Lou, and I'm not sure how to get in there and switch it to show my name.
I can do that.
Thank you.
Oh,
So while Miriam is doing that, the commission not get all of the agenda information I sent yesterday?
I got the agenda and some other stuff and printed it out.
But the link was in there with the agenda.
okay.
Oh, Jesus, yes. I'm not used to it being in the physical document of the agenda.
I see, okay.
I'm sorry, that was totally my fault.
I didn't see it either. I see it now. I didn't look that far.
So it's 7 o'clock. I don't know if Scott's late or coming, but we have a quorum, so I think we should begin our meeting.
Okay.
And I can admit people. It's okay, Beth. I think I can manage it. So we have a very full agenda tonight, and I want to kind of keep us on track. So, and there's a new item I have to bring up, which I'll bring up later, that is not on the agenda, that came up literally today. But Penny knows about this. Here's Janice coming in. So I'm going to try to manage our time efficiently, if you guys can.
Okay.
With me.
I need to run and put this phone back where it came from.
All right.
So not, keeping it in here for the whole 2-3 hours of the meeting.
Okay. So the first thing on the agenda, which is quick, is our minutes for September 23rd. Lisa and I have gone over them, and we're missing a piece of information. There is a vote that we don't know who seconded the vote. So we can't approve the minutes until I've gone through the recording to figure out who did that. So I'm going to propose that we postpone reviewing and approving the minutes till our next meeting, if everyone agrees.
Agree.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. All right. We got Scott here. Hi, Scott. Don's here. Janice is here. Welcome, everybody.
Hi, everyone.
Okay. So what I want to do for now, for our first agenda item, is for us to review, since Joe is here. Joe, we're going to discuss our site visit. And what I'd like to do is give us some space for the commission to deliberate and discuss first, before we kind of have you, share whatever you want to share, because I think the conversation will flow from our discussion, if that's okay with everybody.
Yep.
So I've had several conversations by email with Mark Stinson today, reviewing the site visit form. Has everybody had a chance to review the site visit form?
Yes.
Yes.
So I think the question before us is, what are the recommendations we're going to make to Joe? And what actions we need to take. And so I think first we should be deciding what actions we want to take in terms of if we want to go the route of making this an enforcement order. And I can share with you the information I got from Mark Stinson, which might help us in that decision-making process.
Okay.
He said that because there is no NOI before us, we really should not include any decision-making about an NOI. Meaning any conditions that would be pursuant to an NOI. That we really just need to, even though Joe's kind of told us that he's planning on building a house, that NOI is not before us at this point, so we can't really consider that. We have to really act as if we're just looking at the property as it is right now, as kind of a snapshot in time, and what we would like him to do with it as it is now. Not. Did you, Scott, were you saying something? Okay. So he said that if and when they do submit an NOI and an order of conditions is issued, if we do issue an enforcement order, it can be modified later. He said that, and I didn't quite understand this, but he said, in his opinion, the demolition of the house would have been an exempt activity if there had been erosion controls and stabilization and restoration in place afterwards. But without that, it does become an enforcement issue, as well as any conditions from the determination of applicability from March, if we feel that some of those conditions have not been fully met. Those are also subject to an enforcement order. He did not recommend that in an enforcement order, we tell the applicant to submit an NOI. He felt it could be done in a simpler, cleaner way by just requiring the mitigation or restoration or prevention strategies that we feel are important, necessary. So with that in mind, the draft that I circulated, I've revised with the feedback I got from Mark. So if we are going to go that route, and I want to have some discussion about it, we can go and I can screen share the draft and what we can look at the changes. And there's certain areas I have some questions about. I know we got a building permit application that was submitted this week by Joe. I had a couple conversations with Chuck Damari, who's the chair of the ZBA. And he said that the ZBA, because it's a non-conforming lot, the building permit actually has to be granted by special permit through the ZBA, and they wouldn't be able to do anything with that until an NOI has been submitted to the Concom. So if he's going to build a house, he has to go through us first and then go to the ZBA. We can't act on the building permit until those steps have happened. So those are the biggest points. And again, any questions? Let's have some discussion.
Penny here, I have a question, which is, it sounds like this is going to be a prolonged process before additional work is done on the site. I didn't know about the ZBA needing to weigh in on this, but I was fairly clear that a filing with the commission would need to happen. My big concern is that winter is coming and the site is very unstable due to the demolition. So I think whatever actions you take at this point need to focus on buttoning up the site so that it's stable until a rebuild may happen sometime down the line.
Yes. Any other comments, thoughts, you guys?
Does this have to do with the zoning of the panels?
No, Karen. We're talking about a site visit. That's later tonight. We have a couple of public hearings at 7:30 and at 8, but this is something different.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay. So,
this is Janice. I don't know how to should I raise my hand or generally
just-
that sort of thing?
you can just speak up.
Okay, in this case, I just wanted maybe to clarify things a little bit as I understand them. The thing about the demolition would have been an exempt activity. It's only an exempt activity if you do not rebuild. If you restore it to natural vegetation, then that's an exempt activity, just so that's clear. And
Thank
then,
you.
yeah.
Thank you. Is that,
because on its
that
own, it
was-
sounds weird.
it sounds really weird. I was like, how can that be?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
does everybody understand that if you were going to demolish a house and then restore it to a vegetated lawn or green space, that you wouldn't need to get a permit for that because you're actually
Improving, yes.
improving the wetland values of the property.
Yep.
But if you are rebuilding, then you absolutely have
Yeah.
to it has to be permitted.
Yeah, and the other thing, and I don't know if the ZBA rules are the same in every town or not, but at least when I was in South Hadley, and I think it was part of the state requirement, if you remodeled or restored or changed more than a certain percentage of an existing non-conforming building, then you had to come into compliance with all the current zoning. So I think maybe that's how the ZBA is looking at this. It's non-conforming. It was okay if, I don't know if it's like 50% or something has to remain as is. It's in their rules. I don't remember exact number. But because it was totally demolished, then it does kick them back into having to get a special permit.
Right. That's my understanding. And I asked Chuck a little bit about the timing of everything, and he said that if there is no special permit application before the ZBA yet, there's been, I guess Joe has had a conversation with Chuck, but the application isn't submitted. But if it were, they would have to open the public hearing, but they would continue it until the NOI process had been concluded with the Concom and there was an order of conditions. So that's sort of the way the timing would work, is that they would not proceed with the special permit hearing. They would have to open the hearing because they have a statutory requirement to open it within 65 days of the application date, but they would just keep continuing the hearing with the understanding that this piece has to. So we don't have to act, we don't have an NOI before us. And we can talk about that later. I guess what I want to really focus on in the time we have is, should we issue an enforcement order?
So I was trying to read the other documentation that you sent us, and it seemed to me that said that was our responsibility to do that.
This is Janice. I would agree, just because it is a violation of the conditions that he had, and he did a lot of new work in the riverfront without any permits. I don't see how you get around that.
And so people can understand who haven't been here or who are members of the public who are wondering, like, what are we talking about? We did a couple of site visits this week at a property in town where there's a lot of disturbed soil because of a septic system install and also a house being demolished. And it's in riverfront resource area. So it's a area that it falls within the Wetlands Protection Act jurisdiction. And it's currently in a unstable condition because nothing's vegetated. And Chuck did express some concerns, as Penny mentioned also. Chuck expressed concerns about how this can all happen in any kind of time frame before winter or before next spring. But that's kind of neither here nor there. I think the issues around getting the site stable is really important.
I was thinking, and I don't know if this goes into this when we write it up, but that we would do it in stages. I mean, what's immediate? The immediate is you have to get it to where, if everything slows up, it could last the winter. We correct all the issues.
Yes,
And number two would be whatever else you move on to.
yes.
You're not gonna be able to do all of this at once. I don't think. I agree with that.
So why don't
Could I answer any questions to that? Just a quick question.
you want to ask a question or answer?
No, I just wanted to bring something up, just if I got a moment, that's all.
Well, I think what we want to do is make a decision first about this, Joe, if that's okay. And then we can have a conversation with you about how we would actually, some of the details. Unfortunately, I have to say that this form, the state form, is really annoying, that some of the fields don't let me have a limit on how many characters I can put in them. But what I want to do is perhaps screen share this draft now for the commission to take a look at. Is that all right?
Yes.
And Miriam, you can always add an attachment.
Yeah.
To the
And
form.
maybe that's what we need to do,
You just need
actually.
to reference, you just need to reference that in the tiny spot they give you.
I think that would be the way we need to do this, because honestly, I didn't feel like I could do justice. So does everybody see that?
I think, and I agree with that, because I think that might make it clearer as you try to read through this form. It comes across as disjointed if you're trying to follow the thought processes, the way the form
Yes.
is designed.
Right.
So an attachment would give you the option of doing this in an order that would make sense to people reading it.
Okay. So I'm going to go through this slowly, and let's go through each section. So this part I think is very straightforward here, who the applicant is. Now here's where I took some of the summary of the activity. And again, I may attach a sheet here. I'll just read it. Significant soil disturbance by heavy machinery and partial demolition of a building within a 200-foot riverfront resource area. The closest distance between soil disturbance and the riverbank is 42 feet. Most of the soil disturbance is within 100-foot riverfront resource area. Observed erosion controls on the site were either missing, in poor repair, or installed improperly. No efforts were observed to stabilize disturbed unvegetated slopes. The Conservation Commission was not notified prior to soil disturbance activities. According to the landowner, the demolition occurred within the last 2 weeks. The landowner indicated he was unaware of the need for Conservation Commission approval for this activity. Then I go on, in previous proceedings with this landowner, including in a 32621 negative determination of applicability, he was informed that this property lies within a riverfront resource area, and that any development projects involving soil disturbance must be reviewed by the commission. The negative determination of applicability further included conditions requiring another RDA for any further projects. Here's where I summarize the concerns. The impacts observed were unauthorized activities in a resource area. Due to the insufficient erosion controls and site stabilization, the observed demolition of the house is not an exempt activity. Though I think that's not correct. It's not an exempt activity because
He's not restoring it to vegetation.
and
Because he's rebuilding the house.
Yeah.
because
Yeah,
the house is to be rebuilt.
good.
Thank you. The observed demolition is not an exempt activity. Thank you. The unauthorized activities were beyond the scope of the 326 determination. The following, and here's where I went through the conditions and the reasoning and feel free to help me with this. Condition 1 indicated that the erosion controls and the septic system design site plan must serve as a limit of work. Observed soil disturbances were outside of this area. So we just want to make a distinction here that this is not covered by the DOA. Condition 2 indicates that the determination only applies to the septic system, and basically that RDAs need to be submitted for anything outside of that site area. The driveway has been altered by, including the driveway. As of now, the driveway has been altered by construction activities and has not been restored, which is, I understand the plan is to do that, but technically as of now, it has not been. Any discussion about those two pieces? No.
No.
Condition 3, the landowner did not request a post-construction site visit by the Concom prior to removing erosion controls. Now, I understand the argument can be made that there are still some erosion controls in place, but what we observed, my sense was that the erosion controls have degraded. So they're basically not functioning. They needed to be maintained over the whole summer into the fall. And the site, there are slopes that are not stabilized. As a result, eroded sediments were observed outside the limit of the erosion controls. What do you guys think of that?
I think that's true.
Mary, I think you agree with that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it accurately reflects what we saw.
Yeah, that is what we saw.
Condition 6, erosion controls were observed to be in disrepair while the site was insufficiently reseeded and revegetated. Large areas of disturbed soils showed signs of erosion with no evidence of seeding. So here's areas that were disturbed before the demolition. So we're not talking here about the demolition work. We're talking about the work that went in to disturbing the site for the septic system, where, you know, we observed soil disturbance and things had not been reseeded. There certainly was ample time to reseed things over the summer.
So can you word that as erosion control was not observed on the left and right limits? Just to be specific.
Wet. The left and right limits of the site plan.
That sounds right.
You might want to use north and south rather than right and
Yeah,
left.
right, exactly. Yes.
So we're to left would be, so we're talking about the east and west.
East and west.
Limits. I would say erosion controls on the south side.
Toward the stream.
Toward the stream, toward the river.
River.
Right.
Were observed to be in disrepair.
Yep.
While the site, areas of disturbed soil showed erosion with no reseeding. I don't know if we want to say that the southern slope facing the river was showing erosion. Do we want to make that specific?
If that's what you observed, yes.
The southern slope of the septic system
Right.
was observed to be eroding, which eventually could affect the performance of the septic system. Any other additions to that condition, that item?
No.
Okay. Condition 7, the landowner failed to submit to the Concom a restoration plan, including planting prior to the septic system construction. So I know that Joe is working on that, but technically the condition said that this should have been submitted to us before the septic system was installed. That we did observe some planting and some grass seeding and some ornamental plants, but they're really not sufficient because much of the site still has not been revegetated and slopes haven't been stabilized. And, you know, while we're talking about stabilization, we're talking about establishing vegetation to hold the dirt down, to hold things in place.
So this doesn't really address the top part where there's more flow off the road down the side of the septic tank, where I think where all the water is going right now because of the way the
Yeah,
project was done.
well,
Do you know where I'm talking about, where the stones are
you're
at the tank?
talking about on the north side of the property along the road where the runoff from the road is going to get channeled down the driveway is that what you're talking about?
Down the driveway and down the side, and I'm not sure where east-west is, but down the side toward the river there where it's already going.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's kind of like what we're saying is that, you know, that area, he hasn't submitted a plan to change the driveway. So technically that all should have been restored and revegetated, and it's not.
All right, so you see that as coming in the plan to restore all the rest of that area? That's where that would be included, because I do think it looks worse than it was before the septic system was in.
What do other people think about how to do this item?
So I think Mary's right in that she's pointing to where water is flowing from and is eroding through the plot toward the resource area. So you got to put something in there that talks about where that water is coming from.
So it's not a condition of, or is it does this fall under a violation of the conditions of the DOA, or is this a separate issue that he's altered because of the construction activities, which included also the tree removal and whatever else has been going on the site? He's altered the resource area such that now the river is at risk. I mean, that may be a separate issue that.
So I think the area I'm talking about was altered by the septic tank installation. So as you look at the property, I'm talking about the area to the right where it's going down the side. It also does the driveway and the other side, which I think were more created by the tear down.
Okay, so yeah, so again, so you're talking about the northwest corner where we saw erosion near the culvert.
Right.
Yep.
Okay, and so I don't know if we go back up here, I guess I felt like we could add that here in this paragraph.
Can I make a suggestion? This is Penny.
Yeah.
I think you have a pretty tight reason for issuing an enforcement order. I think you might want to focus this point on what you would like Mr. Salvador to do to stabilize the site. Since you
I
only
think that
have a
would be
couple of
helpful.
minutes left.
So
And I also know Jeff Lacy was hoping to talk to you about the Pelham Hill property before the 7:30 meeting as well.
okay. So
Well, I do think that these discussions need to take place. So
they
I would
do.
like to not see this rushed. If we
No,
have
I
to
don't
put it
wanna
off
rush
and finish it later.
Mary, I don't want to rush either. So I'm going to suggest we just table it till a little later in the evening when we can go back to this. I'm sorry.
And if I can only I know it's hard to do it. I do think the more specific we are, the easier it will be for Joe to know what he needs to fix.
Yes. I think we need to be very detailed about all what we want fixed and when we want it fixed. So we do that. Let's be thoughtful about that later. So I'm going to stop the screen share.
Can I bring up something really quick that may help board
Well,
out?
Joe, I think what I want to do is just table this because we've got a public hearing starting in 3 minutes. And I know Jeff Lacy's here and wanted to bring up a different issue. So.
Well, I think what I got to say may only take a couple minutes if I can use it.
But we Joe, we just don't have the time right now.
Well,
We have to start a public hearing at 7:30. So please just hold with us and we'll get to you.
Just
please.
give me 1 minute. That's all I can tell you. After our discussion yesterday, I re-put new wattle socks around the whole perimeter. And
Okay.
I I bought all of the hay, the straw that they wanted to cover all of the grounds.
All right,
So all
Joe,
of that,
okay, we just can't get into it right now. Please,
All right.
I'm sorry. I know you want to share it with us and we want to hear. We really do. We just, I have to manage the time here. Okay, so Jeff, do you want to take a couple minutes and talk to us about, there's some property for sale that, there's some property for sale in Shutesbury.
Sure. Hi, everybody. Just within the last week, I found out from one of my neighbors, because this property abuts mine, that 34 acres that belongs to Wendy Pearson along Pelham Hill Road has come on the market. So I've reached out to the Kestrel Trust, to the Amherst Water Department, to the CPA committee in Shutesbury, and now you folks, just to alert you about this piece of land. I think there's a map floating around somewhere that I made that maybe Penny circulated, that shows it. It's not the pond parcel. It's not the 3-acre pond parcel on Baker Road, but it runs from my south field 2,000 feet to the Pelham border and is about 600 feet deep, and contains 34 acres. And there's lots of 34-acre parcels in Shutesbury, but not a lot of them have 2,000 feet of frontage. So there's considerable development potential here using that Pelham Hill frontage. It's also a parcel that is kind of special because it is the headwaters of the Amethyst Brook. The headwaters actually are shown to be on my property. I don't think they are. They're just inside this one. There are 2 streams that emanate or pass through this piece of land. Nonetheless, I believe it's fairly developable for perhaps 6 or 7 lots, maybe more, depending on if they get creative. And the asking price is $275 for this piece of land. So I just wanted to bring it to your attention. I took somebody from Kestrel Trust, Stu Watson, took him out onto it the other day. They're aware of this piece and seem to be interested. And I also talked to Beth, the Amherst Water Department, who's also on this commission. Talked to her about it, not realizing that she was on this commission. Anyway, so Beth knows a little bit about it too. And also Penny, I've talked to her a bit about it. So
Have you talked, Jeff, have you had any communication with the landowner about this?
I left her a phone message because I think she and I are on okay terms, and left her a phone message that kind of said, you know, if you'd like to have this property preserved, perhaps maybe you might want to give us a little time to get ourselves together here. I'm trying to get it together, so maybe don't rush off and sell it to a developer right away, because once a developer gets it, they're going to want a profit, so it's going to go up.
So Jeff, Penny here, do you know if this is under Chapter 61 or any other protection at this point?
It's shown to be under 61.
So the town should get the right of first refusal on it.
Yep.
And I haven't seen, does that not come into play until an offer is made?
You know, I'm not sure whether it can just sell And,
No.
and the offer of first refusal comes when something is done to develop it. I'm not positive what has to happen there, but it does show up on the 61 map, probably 61B, like.
I
like
believe a letter has to go first to the select board.
And planning board and conservation
Right, but that hasn't been happening recently.
and assessors, I think too.
Well, I think, isn't it the assessor's office sends that out?
So
No, the property owner does.
Oh,
what
really?
if what if we were to reach out to, or Jeff, if you want to be involved, to reach out to the landowner and see if we can arrange a site visit and have that conversation?
Well, let's see. I've done 3 site visits, one with Kestrel. It's not posted property. I could do that. You know, that may indicate to her that we're interested. Unfortunately, this owner has a checkered history with the Shutesbury Conservation Commission. You know, if I were to say, well, it's the Concom who wants to come on, I should probably say something else.
I agree with you, Jeff.
Okay.
Um,
Well,
Beth, do you have anything to say about the property?
I would love to do a site visit of the property. I'm also, I guess I'm interested in the chapter 61 factor. I think that's a definite that should happen. It needs to go through that process, and the Concom always reviews and then makes a recommendation to the select board as to how to move forward with a chapter 61 removal. I wonder about the developability of it based on the streams that are on it, and then that affects the price so much, and whether the owner is interested in preserving it and in that way would be willing to take a lower price. It's a pretty high price, and I think the high price is based because the market is so crazy right now, the real estate market, and then they're assuming it's developable to a certain extent, and I haven't really had a chance to look at it too much to see.
is
like,
there a
how it
way,
works.
is there a way to cost share? Well, like say with Kestrel, could the town do this in a joint project with Kestrel? Is that allowable?
Sure. Yeah, you can do that. And also there's land grants. I think the cycle for the land grants is you usually apply in July, actually. That's what I remember. So a land grant is for conservation commissions and other groups to get funding to buy property. And you can do it as a partnership with Kestrel. And that's a great way to do it, because then you get recommendations from Kestrel for your grant application. Your grant application.
Just
looks
the
a lot
timing may be such that, you know, that's not a nimble process for somebody who's got a property on the market.
better. Right, yeah.
We
it would have to be
do have a
pretty
fund.
willing.
We do have a fund for land acquisition.
We have, the town, the Conservation Commission has about $80,000 in a fund, though I will say that's probably taken 15 years to accumulate. So I would proceed cautiously, but
Yeah.
there's also CPA money that could be applied for something like this as well. So again, that's not quick, but perhaps if Wendy Pearson had some interest in protecting this, she would be willing to wait if there was an agreement made.
So I want to move on because we do have to get going with our public hearings. And I just thinking the next step is that maybe we need to do a site visit, maybe with Jeff, maybe someone from Kester would like to go on the site visit with us.
Yeah, I would be happy to take people through there. Like I say, it's not posted land.
Okay.
I'm getting to know it well. So I'd be happy to
Great.
help out with a site visit. I am on the CPA committee agenda next week with this piece.
Oh,
Okay.
that's good.
Um,
Like the fall and
So
sleep.
Jeff, let me just get a quick show of hands. would you guys, would Scott and Beth and Janice, would you guys want to do a weekend site visit so you guys could come?
Sure.
I think you ought to be careful about going on without letting the property owner know. Just,
Mm-mm.
I think it could get anyone angry to have a group
I agree.
on there.
I think that we have to let them know.
I can certainly call Wendy and leave her another, unfortunately, you usually speak with Wendy's answering machine, and
What about the Realtor who's got it listed?
I can call that Realtor as well.
I think that's probably the way to go and say that we want to
Yeah.
do a site visit, and
Yeah,
probably
and
the Realtor isn't going to want to go bushwhacking, but they could get permission for us to do it.
right. I could get sort of a blanket permission to go. And,
All right, why don't you do that, Jeff, and then email the Concom with some possible dates and times, and then I'll share that with the commissioners.
Okay, good,
Thank you.
good. All right, well, thank you very much for your interest.
Thanks. All right, it is 7:38. I'm sorry, Maria, that this is, that you've been waiting.
Okay, you've got a lot going on.
We do have a lot, but it's 7:38, so we're gonna open, which hearing are we on? We're gonna open the continued
Corner
public hearing
South.
for ZU2, Pratt Corner South and RAD. So, Penny, do we want to have any discussion before we decide whether to close the hearing?
I'm hoping everyone has had a chance to read through Emily Stockman's findings. I didn't hear from anyone that you wanted to make changes in that.
No.
Emily's one question was, there's a statement in the finding number 1 that says, if a notice of intent is submitted citing the boundaries approved under this ORAD, then current flags shall be renumbered and replaced at the exact geo-reference location depicted on the final plan. And the key thing is this, in consecutive numeric order.
Well, that's what we've been talking about.
Right. So Emily's comment was, on this particular site, they're pretty much in consecutive order, and some accommodation was made for ones that weren't, and perhaps Maria could speak to that.
Yes, so there are a handful of spots on this site where the flags are not in simple consecutive order. Like we might go from flag 120 to flag 122 because a flag was removed during the review. And there are 1 or 2 spots where we have an instance where we might go from flag 120 to flag 120.1 to flag 121. That's extremely normal during a process like this, and it's atypical to ask for those kinds of things to be changed. As discussed at the last meeting, that the last bit of that finding was a holdover from other sites that we've worked on where there were dramatic changes and the numbering made absolutely no sense because wetlands got combined and just massive numbers of flags were added and changed. So it would be our preference to not include that here. It is, of course, up to you, but it's for the number of instances that this site has like that, it's an awful lot of renumbering for not much change, because once you change one number, then it goes down the whole line, and there are, you know, hundreds of flags at this site.
Hundreds of flags. Well, any discussion or questions or thoughts about this from the commission?
I thought that this was a matter of consistency. not the convenience of the developer, that you were gonna have these flags be able to be read in the future, should a notice of intent be introduced sometime in the future where, you know, maybe a year from now, 2 years from now, who knows what shape those flags are gonna be in. So, I mean, it's the same as the other plots, right? Same as all the other plots. There's just very few changes in this.
Can I jump in? I am not asking to not have to put flags up again so that they're readable. I'm asking to not have to change the numbers on the plans as they are, because it's extremely not worthwhile in this instance to do it. It doesn't add a significant amount of understanding to what's the next flag number that I should be looking for.
Right. I think that the main concern we had was if for some reason a flag was missing and the numbers are not consecutive, it could lead somebody really astray and not being able to verify where the boundaries are. And what you're saying is the numbers are in a logical order, even if they're not cleanly consecutive.
Yes, I'm saying that there are a couple spots where there's a single number that's skipped, and there are a couple of spots where there's a number that's stuck in the middle, but it's a logical number that's been added to the middle. It's an extremely different situation than other sites. It is.
Yeah.
You know, we're 100% happy to make sure the flags are all readable if this goes to a project stage and people want to be able to find things on the site. The numbers will match what's on the plans now, as opposed to having to renumber everything.
I'm seeing that a couple of people have their hands raised. Scott, do you want to say something? And then I'll call on Mary Lou.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, to me, that the actual numbering isn't a big deal. I think it's, you know, what corresponds with the plans, and maybe it's because I'm being conditioned with the renumbering of all the Massachusetts state exits on our highways. So getting used to things being out of order. But I think we can probably interpret that, and I don't have a concern with what's being proposed.
Mary Lou Conca, I don't know if the commission wants to entertain comments from the public at this point. Do we have enough time for a question from the public?
If it's germane to this particular topic.
Go ahead, Mary Lou.
Yes, hi, thank you. Mary Lou Conca. I just have a quick question. If Maria, the person who was just speaking, could introduce who she's representing?
Sorry, I should have done that. Maria Furstenberg from TRC. We are the environmental consultant for the applicant, which is the landowner at the site WD Coles.
Thank you.
All right. So commission, do we have enough? Oh, Janice, you have your hand raised.
Just a quick thing, again, since I see a lot of names there and assume that they're here about the solar projects per se, is maybe just to explain that this is just an approval of the wetland delineation, right? And nothing else, just because we're sort of just opening it up and saying, okay, we're going to close this hearing. It'd just be good to explain what it is that the
Yes.
hearing is about.
So we have been continuing this public hearing for about a year now. And in the meantime, our wetland consultant that we hired, our Conservation Commission, has gone out and verified the wetland delineations. And then the applicant has revised their maps to bring them in conformity with the recommendations from our wetland consultant, Emily Stockman. And so now we're at a stage where this is the process. What our job here is to approve wetland delineations. That's what the ANRAD process is. And so we have to get to a place where we agree on the maps and the flagging. And then if we're satisfied with those, then we, by approving this ANRAD and issuing an order, we're basically locking this wetland delineation into place for 3 years. So it means that any development projects would be subject to these wetland delineations. I see Carlos has his hand raised. Carlos Fontes.
Yes, so my question is it the opinion of the members of the COMCOM that if you leave the system as it is, if you leave the noting as it is, that it will absolutely have no that it will not pose any difficulty in the future? Is that the opinion? I would like to hear that from all of the members. We heard from one.
What do you mean? I don't understand the question. It
Well,
will-
whether if the numbers do not quite match, or if there are
Oh.
numbers that are missing, I would like to hear from each person whether they think that's before the voting, whether that's actually fine, that you don't see any problem with it, or whether you see some problem with that. And I would rely on your expertise to talk about that.
Can I just clarify one thing, Miriam?
I'm sure, Maria.
I want to be very clear, the flags that are in the field right now match what is on the plans. There is no mismatch.
Right. That's important, I guess.
And I think that they do, this is Mary. I think there's so few and they do match so that you can, the issue we had before was that you didn't match the map and you might have difficulty following through on everything. And I think in this case, I think they match so that you would be able to take the plan and follow through and do that. So I think it's okay.
I agree with Mary.
Beth, do you have any comments?
Yeah, I'm fine with it too. I feel like it's a limited number of points that are have different numbers, but I think it's on the plan and it correlates within what's within the field, and she's willing to remark the flagging if needed, if we get to the point of an NOI. So
Well,
okay.
the point here would be that we're not going to require them to do that if it's an NOI.
Oh, no, Miriam, the only thing I'm asking is to not have to change the flag numbers. We're absolutely happy to go out there and refresh the flag numbers so that they continue to match the plans. I'm just asking to not have the last part about having to change the numbers. I just want to keep the numbers the way they are.
Okay. Well, I suppose, one of the benefits of not requiring the change is it reduces perhaps the risk of there's an error that the flags wouldn't line up with the mapped points. I don't have a problem with it. If I had issues with some of the other sites because the numbers were so illogical. It went from 3 to 7. There were just some really weird numbering, and my concern was that somebody was out trying to survey in the field would get if there were any flags missing, and the numbers are so out of order that it might be difficult to verify the boundaries. But I agree that these are small. This is a small issue. There's a small number of sites that are affected.
What about the plants in the area that's marked off?
Well, these are the wetland delineations, Karen, and within those boundaries of the wetlands, there can't, those are protected areas. I can't say that there won't be any development, but they're protected. The applicant would need to get approval before they could change anything within those boundaries.
Were the water connections verified?
Yes, we've had a wetland scientist go out in the field and review in the field where the wetland boundaries are.
But you said the flags were misnumbered.
Because they had to change the boundaries of some of the wetlands. Some of the numbering changed. For example, in some places they took a point out. So maybe it went from 120 to 122 because they took out one flag.
Because the area expanded or got smaller?
I don't know in that particular instance, but it could have been that when they went out in the field, they realized the boundary wasn't quite where they thought it was. So they took a point out because it was in the wrong place. It could have been larger or smaller. It's just that when they looked at that flag, they realized it was not in a wetland, and so they took that flag out.
There were wetland plants even?
There are wetland plants throughout the site where there's wetlands, yes. Okay, do we have enough to close the public hearing? Somebody? I think we have to make a motion to close the hearing, right?
I'll make a motion to close the hearing. I think we have enough information.
A second,
I second.
okay. David,
Aye.
Font, aye. Harrington,
Aye.
Khan,
Aye.
Wilson,
Aye.
did I leave anybody out? No. Okay, so we're going to have to draft the ORAD. We have,
You've done that already.
right. Do we have time to review that now, you think, before the next public hearing, Penny?
Well, I think everyone has read the findings and agreed to the findings, correct?
Mhm.
Yes.
Yes.
Right. And so I can, I think if you give me permission, I can screen share the EDEP ORAD form, which,
Can you open it up? Can you screen share it? I think I
can.
enabled it.
okay, let me try that right now. So
Otherwise I got,
host disabled.
ugh. All right, let me go digging into Zoom. Okay, general, where do I go for this? Somebody is smarter about this than I am, help me. I went, it's under meeting, right? Go under meeting, nope. Start share.
Let me try, nope, it still is saying disabled from sharing.
Maybe if I
think
make, maybe if I make you a host.
able to share.
What?
I think if you make Penny a co-host.
Right, you gotta make her a co-host so she can do it.
Okay, let me see how to do that. Where are you, Penny? Trying to find you on the list. Okay, I made you a co-host.
Okay, let me try again then. I'm going to try and make this so it's I've got many things open.
Might have to share your browser.
Can you see it now?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, so let me go back to the previous page. So this is all filled out with the applicant's information. It's referenced to the Pratt Corner site, which is lot ZU2. The date this was filed was 10/29/20. The public hearing was open. No, well, I presume it's going to close
It
tonight.
today.
14th.
So that is what, 10,
14.
And 14.
21. And
You got, it looks like you got another one there.
sorry about that. And then the date of issuance would be tomorrow, if you agree on everything. I had not added that yet. So I'm happy to send this off to DEP and to TRC tomorrow if you would like.
Okay, so put that in.
The plan title I referenced, and Maria, correct me if this is not correct. I referenced the final plan, the one dated 9/22/21.
Yes.
Okay, which is right here. And we'll go to the next page. I spoke with Emily Stockman today. She said we should select section B here, which is modified because the plan we're referencing is not the plan that was submitted initially. It is the plan that Emily and Maria agreed to and is on the map, and that is dated 9/22/21. And then the other thing we will attach is the findings, which you all have read. And does anyone have questions or comments about that?
Penny, I had one. This is Janice. Can you go back to the first page? It looks like under the plan, you said prepared by, and you had your name there.
No, Maria has
No,
someone whose staff with a
Other
name
one.
very similar to mine.
His name is Philip.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Whoa.
I don't have a C in my Jakes.
Okay, all right. Whew. Okay, I was wondering about that.
So was
you.
I.
It messes me up every time I send an email, though. It wants me
Yeah.
to send an awful lot of emails to Penny.
So does that seem right, Maria? To
Yeah,
select B?
I think that you need to check off 1 and 2 under B,
Okay, okay,
but otherwise that all looks correct to me.
okay. And then that's it, except for your signatures. And so the way this will go out, it will be submitted electronically. And I will turn the findings into a PDF and attach it to the document. So it all goes out in that fashion to DEP. And I will delete the pink highlighted comment referring to the flag numbering. So
I think, Penny, you only need to delete the last 4 words in that, the in consecutive numeric order. Everything
okay,
else we're happy to do.
okay, okay. Great. So then all of you, if you're comfortable with that, I guess you need to vote to sign off on it.
Right. And all right. So does somebody want to make a motion? I'll make a motion. I'll make a motion that we approve this ORAD with the findings and conditions as amended. And do I have a second? Do I have a second?
This is Mary, I'll second.
Okay. David,
Hi.
DeFont, aye. Harrington,
Aye.
Han,
Hi.
and Wilson.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. All right. Well, we have finished this piece and now it is 8 o'clock, so we can move on to our next order of business on the agenda, which is to open the public hearing for Montague Carver. Though I have one question, which is before we open this hearing, don't we need to reapprove the third-party review proposal for Emily?
It might not matter what order you do it in, but you might actually want to do it after we open the hearing and talk about what's gone on, and then say, okay, because of this, the proposal was updated and now we're approving that.
Okay.
But it's entirely up to you what order you want to do it in.
All right, so I'm going to open the public hearing for ZD 37 Carver Montague Road and RAD.
And I think you should give some overview as to why you're doing it this way.
I was gonna ask why we're doing what, considering the third party proposal later, or why we're opening the hearing?
why this was reposted and
Yes.
re-noticed to everyone and why we're starting from scratch on this particular parcel.
So for the public, I'll summarize that. And then what I'm going to ask for you, Maria, is, and you may not be, I should have emailed you about this, you may not be prepared for this, but you know, what we would like, what we've been advised that you should do is review the whole process in this new public hearing.
Yes.
And so
fine.
that for the benefit of the commissioners who are not on the commission when the first anyway, when the first public hearing was open, are you guys hearing a reverb?
A little.
Okay, I'll stop talking in a second. Yeah. All right. It may be that the internet's getting unstable at my house. Shut some things off. Okay. So for the public, in order.
I
Wow,
think
that's
that
really
Penny
good.
needs to go on mute. I think that Penny needs to go. Reverb is coming from that.
Okay. All right, that sounds better. Thank you. Thank you, Maria. I was getting a little freaked out about that. So we encountered a situation which, because these public hearings lasted for so long, there was a turnover in the membership on the commission. And you cannot approve an ANRAD or issue an ORAD, an order of resource area delineation, without a qualifying quorum of eligible vote commissioners. And for our commission, that means four commissioners. And any one commissioner can miss one public hearing meeting where there's a substantive discussion, or else after that, they're no longer qualified to vote. And we lost our quorum. It went on so long that there was only one commissioner left who had been at all the hearings and could have voted. So upon advice from our town council, our town attorney, we advised the applicants that they needed to withdraw this ANRAD and resubmit it and open a new public hearing, because we need to have a quorum. So we're starting from scratch in terms of having a voting quorum, but we're really not starting from scratch because all the wetlands delineations have already been done. And so now we're starting this process. Okay, Maria, why don't you talk?
Okay, so Maria Furstenberg from TRC, we're representing the applicant, which is the landowner, WD Coles. So back in December of 2019, we originally filed an ANRAD for this parcel. We filed it for approximately 67 acres that are south of Carver Road, or not south, north of Carver Road. They basically, the road and the property boundary marked the area that we were looking at. And DEP issued a file number for that ANRAD. It was 286-0274. And before submitting the ANRAD that we're discussing tonight, we submitted a letter to the commission and DEP formally withdrawing that ANRAD. So that one is gone. But what happened since December of 2019 is that the commission hired another consultant to review the wetlands and wetland resources that we had delineated. And we did several site visits between April and June of 2020 with that reviewer, and essentially did some significant updates to the wetland delineation within that 67 acres north of Carver Road. Then we found out that for future project planning, the applicant really needed to include a pretty significant area south of Carver Road, about an additional 90 acres. We relayed this to the Conservation Commission, and they gave us permission to add it in to the existing application. The reason for doing that is because it's all on the same parcel. It makes it much easier to track, not having separate file numbers, and just like the whole permitting process down the road is going to be easier if there's just one document that needs to be tracked. So we were very appreciative of that. So in July and August of 2020, we delineated those additional 90 acres. And we spent some time also addressing the other comments that we had gotten from the peer reviewer on the original study area north of Carver Road. So that took a fair bit of time because there were some other things that we had to go do. There was some interaction with natural heritage to get some information on a vernal pool that's mapped on the site, among other things. So we finally submitted updated plans and other information that had been requested on July 23rd of 2021. This coincided, well, it was very slightly before we found out from the commission that there was a quorum issue. So once we found out about that, and after some back and forth about what to do with this ANRAD, just conferring with different attorneys and with Mass DEP about what the process should be, we all agreed that we should withdraw the one that we withdrew and resubmit. So that's what we've done here. We resubmitted. And in this case, we have resubmitted for the whole 157 acres that are being looked at. And we have been issued a new Mass DEP file number of 286-0285. So because the northern area has already been looked at by the peer reviewer and we've already made those adjustments, unless the reviewer feels that we didn't make all the adjustments, we're not really looking at that area anymore. But we have still, for the peer reviewer to look at the delineation of the new area south of Carver Road that was done in late summer last year. So,
And when is the site visit scheduled, or have you already done it?
Well, we weren't allowed to do a site visit before the new hearing opened. So we are planning to go to the site with Stockman Associates on Tuesday, the 19th. So part of what we're asking for tonight is for you to approve the updated proposal that she provided. We had previously given you a check to cover for it. The updated proposal, my understanding is that it just references the new submittal date of the new ANRAD and the new Mass DEP file number, so that they're tracked appropriately in your records.
All right. So we're not going to close the public hearing tonight. There will be another, at least one more public hearing visit for this project once we've got the information from Emily Stockman and they've finished reviewing all the delineations. Are there any questions from the commission?
No.
Do you want me to screen share and show the plans at all?
Yeah. Let me figure out how I did that.
I realized that because we have resubmitted this and stuff, that there are people that have maybe not seen the entire site. So I can definitely.
I will make you a co-host.
Show a couple pages just to, in case anyone had questions.
And if anybody from the public has a question, you want to ask it please raise your hand, or if you're just on a phone, I guess you can shout out. Go ahead, Maria. Can you do it now?
I'm gonna try in just 1 second. There are so many pages. I'm trying to find a good one to show everyone.
So Miriam,
Yes.
hi, it's Mary Lou. I just have a really quick question for clarification. I hear y'all using the word delineated back and forth. Could you just explain what you are referencing for your audience when you use that word? Thank you.
Maria, would you like to answer that?
Absolutely. So the word delineation just means determining where the wetland stops and the upland ends. And we do that based on the kinds of plants that are growing in the area, as well as whether or not we have hydric soil indicators. We need both a majority of hydrophytic plants or wetland plants, as well as hydric soil to call an area a wetland. So basically we hung flags showing where we believe the boundary to be, and the reviewer goes and looks at those flags with us and says either, yes, I agree this is in the right place, or no, I think it's actually over here. And we dig a few holes and say, oh yes, you're right, or no, you guys got it right the first time. And if the flag needs to be moved, we move it. If we need to, add some flags because there's a big difference, then we do that.
Okay,
Can everyone?
I see Carlos Fontes has his hand raised. Carlos, do you have a question?
Yeah, I wonder if this document is available to the public.
It should be. We've been putting all of our maps and documents for these ANRADs up on the Concom's homepage on the town website. I don't know if this new updated map has gotten up there. Penny, is it up there yet? I don't know, Penny's muted. Carlos, if it isn't, we will get it up there tomorrow, and the old maps from the previous ANRAD are up there. As well as the issued ORADs once we close a hearing. So we are making this stuff available to people.
And could you also explain the meaning of the shaded areas?
Maria, do you want to answer?
What I was going to do. So the black outline here is the entire parcel that we're discussing. This is Carver Road that runs through the middle here. And this is Montague Road here. So this darker shaded area, this is the original study area that has already been reviewed, and the adjustments made during the review have already been made on the plans that are included in this new ORAD. The lighter shaded area is the new study area, the 90 acres that was added during the second half of last year. So that's just an overview of the parcel and the old area versus the new area.
And
Maria, are you able to show how any of the delineate? I mean, I know you have some maps that show how the delineations changed over time.
I don't believe that we have that in here because in other instances where we've done that, we've waited until the final map to do that, just because it's a fair amount of work. So after the south area gets reviewed, we'll put one of those together just in case there are changes there. So we'll give you a whole one at once. But just offhand, essentially, most of the changes at this site actually happened in the west area here. It's now called W-MBF-10. That's just wetland. MBF is my initials. I'm the person that did the new delineation, and 10 is just the wetland identification number because we have a lot of different wetlands here. This area originally had I think, 3 unconnected wetlands that were delineated in it. And during the review, the reviewer and I agreed that they were actually all connected and that there was a fair amount of area between them that qualified as wetland. So this used to have several wetland numbers associated with it and upland area in between them, and now it does not. This whole area here is considered wetland. There were some minor adjustments to other areas here, but the big adjustment at this site was in the west corner.
All right, any other questions for tonight from the public or from the commission?
So Miriam, my hand was up.
Yeah, Mary Lou.
Yes. What do you mean by adjustments made, Maria?
I mean that the peer reviewer didn't agree with where our original delineation was and said change it, and we changed it to comply with their opinion about where it is.
Okay, so you don't mean actual adjustments to the land, like filled in? or
No,
anything
no,
like
there,
that?
there is no land filling or any kind of thing going on here. The only thing we're doing is literally walking around and hanging pink and blue flags.
Thank you.
That's all we did.
Mary Lou, could you want to lower your hand, or is it all right if I lower your hand?
Oh, I'll do it. Thank you.
Okay, Carlos, did you have a question? I think.
Just a last question. I am wondering if all of the butters to this now extended plan, if they have all been notified that they are butters.
Yes,
They all have.
yes.
Okay, and do you have a list of those abutters that I could look at?
Yes, it will take me a minute to get to the page for you, but there is an attachment in this submittal, so you can find it online. It's actually a requirement that we notify abutters within a certain distance of the property, and that we get that list from the town assessor. And so what's included in here is actually the list and map provided by the assessor specifically for that purpose. And prior to this hearing, we submitted.
It'll be up on the town website.
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
All right. So we need to approve the revised proposal for Emily Stockman Associates to do the peer review for this project. Have all the commissioners had a chance to look at that revised proposal?
Yes.
Somebody want to make a motion to approve it?
I make a motion to approve the proposal from Emily Stockman to review the Montague Carver and RAD, or the delineation.
Okay, second.
I second.
Robin. Okay, David.
Aye.
DeFont, aye. Harrington.
Aye.
Aye.
Wilson.
Aye.
Okay, so
I have the map up just in case anyone
okay.
wanted to see. All the yellow parcels are ones that the assessor identified as being abutters that had to be notified, just for a visual. And then this is the list that was given us. So there are a fair number of people on that list. They were all notified. We provided a certificate of mailing to the commission, I think sometime last week, showing that we had notified all of these abutters.
All right, thank you. Do we need any more discussion? Oh, Leslie Carrier has her hand raised. Leslie, do you want to ask a question?
Yes, thank you. I'm just confused of the order this should be in. Like, shouldn't they be submitting plans to the planning board?
There's no project. This is just a review of the resources. So there's nothing for the planning board to pontificate on. This is something that solely goes through the Conservation Commission.
Well, let me rephrase that. I know that there has been a road put in on Montague Road linking to Carver Road. So the planning board isn't reviewing it. I'm so relieved that the Conservation Committee is going to review it. But I'm just curious if a lot of land has already been cleared as a done deal, like we're doing this.
Maria, let me
Okay.
perhaps respond to this. So that's not in our jurisdiction, Leslie. The landowner owns the land. We don't have jurisdiction over whether they cut trees on that property. They're allowed to cut trees. It's an exempt activity under the Wetlands Protection Act. It's considered to be an agricultural exemption. So it's not under our jurisdiction. So we can't really deliberate about that. We don't have any authority around that. And so Maria can have an opinion about it, but it's just not our role here tonight. That's not what we're responsible for.
Well, I wonder what the role is of the abutters. Like they're notified last week and there's a procedure. And again, Miriam, I'm just so pleased to see your leadership here. And also, I think you've got a great team. So I'm feeling like I can trust, but I also see it.
So let me just clarify this process for the abutters and for everybody else. The solar bylaw requires an applicant to get an ANRAD delineation, an area abbreviated, help me out, abbreviated
notice of resource area delineation.
Resource area delineation, I forgot, I'm blocking, it's getting late. So they're doing what they were required to do, but this process, there's no notice of intent before the Conservation Commission. So there's no permit that's being requested of us. So our role is fairly limited. All we're being asked to do and all we are allowed to do in this process is to confirm and verify and set in stone for the next 3 years where the boundaries are of the jurisdictional wetlands that the Conservation Commission has jurisdiction over, either under the Wetlands Protection Act or our town's wetlands protection bylaw. So that's all we're doing. We are not approving the project or any activity around the project, just the wetlands delineation. But people have a right to know about these processes. And for a lot of our Conservation Commission activities, abutters have to be notified. So it's not just ANRADs, a lot of things, abutters have to be notified. And so you can stay informed about what's happening near your property.
Thank you. I hope I'm not the only one who got a better understanding from what you just said.
Good.
Thank you.
Okay. It seems to me that unless there's any more substantive questions, we may want to consider our continuing this public hearing to the next meeting, since there is not much else business we have left to discuss about it.
If we're ready to discuss continuance, I was going to request that we continue to, I believe it's the December 9th meeting, when we were originally going to continue the other one too, just to give us time to finish the field work and make adjustments if there are any.
Well, that would give us a little breathing space, which would be much appreciated. Given
I'll
that
make a motion that we continue this to the December 9th meeting. But do we have a
wanted to
time?
double check that it's the right date. But
Yes,
I think that's when it was going to be.
9 at 7:30. Yep.
Okay.
Is that what your motion is?
Yes.
Okay, I'll second that. David?
Aye.
Stefan, aye. Harrington?
Aye.
Colin?
Aye.
Wilson?
Aye.
Okay,
Thank you so
all
much.
right. Thank you, Maria. Okay. It is 8:30. I'm sorry for folks who are waiting for some of the items at the end. Sorry for keeping everybody waiting. We have on our agenda for 8:15 a joint meeting with LWAC. And I know Mark Rivers is here. Mark, do you have other members of your LWAC here?
There's, let me get going here. I think just Catherine is on, so we didn't have, we don't have a whole lot of members from LDOT kind of on the meeting.
Mary,
And Mary, yes.
would you have a quorum? Do you want to convene this as a meeting for you?
Yeah, we might as well, just to get the discussion going somewhat. We change things around here, so.
All right. So, why don't you
Miriam,
talk?
this is Penny. Can I interrupt for just a minute? Because I'm not going to stay on for the rest of the meeting. I got booted out of Zoom a little while ago, and maybe you did this, but I missed about 15 minutes. Did you vote to accept the conditions for the Pratt Corner South?
Yes, we did.
And everyone voted to sign the ORAD?
I believe we did. No,
Okay.
you know what? I don't know. Did we have that vote? I'm blocking here. Lisa would know.
I think you jumped into the next hearing, and it seemed to me like you might have missed doing that, and I just want to make sure you have a record voting to accept.
You did in fact vote to sign off on the ORAD.
Okay. Yes, because
I know you voted to close the hearing, and you also voted to sign off on the ORAD and the conditions, right,
Yes.
Lisa?
We voted on
Yes.
2 votes, right?
Okay.
There were 2 votes.
Okay, excellent. So you don't need me anymore, right?
Unless you want to hear about the truck.
Well, I actually know more about the truck as well. And I think the highway department is willing to put rocks at the entrance as a short-term stopgap.
Okay. Well, I was going to suggest that we talk about maybe some temporary signage. But do you want us just to talk about that very quickly before you leave, Penny?
Well, it's up to you. I had presented rules for that site multiple times to the commission in years past, and there were always sticking points, and they never got approved.
Okay. Let me just explain quickly. I'm sorry, Mark, if you would just can you guys hold on for a minute and let us just handle this one agenda item before Penny leaves? Is that okay? Mark here?
Sure, of course.
Thank you.
Of course.
I was walking today with a friend in the Southbrook Conservation Area, and a truck came down the road on a trail, a pickup truck. And I talked with the individual and asked him what he was doing. And this individual explained to me that he is commercially harvesting mountain laurel on a piece of private property owned by an abutter. And he can only access it using the road trails within Southbrook. And so he was driving his truck down the trail. He assured me that he's licensed by the state to harvest mountain laurel, and that he is not harvesting it from the Southbrook Conservation Area, only from this piece of private property where he has permission. I told him I was uncomfortable with the truck on the road. He says he's been doing this a lot. I asked him not to do it. He said it wasn't posted, so he could do what he wanted.
What?
I asked him out of to do me the courtesy of not doing it today, with the understanding that I would bring this to the commission's attention tonight, and then I would call him tomorrow with an update. And he was unwilling to do that, and I let him go because I did not want to continue that conversation. So I do have a call in just with the police to confirm that that needs to be posted. And I'm hopefully get a call tomorrow about it. In the meantime, I am concerned about a couple of things. I'm concerned about damage to the trails and the wetlands with a pickup truck. And I'm concerned that harvesting, if the boundaries aren't really clear, it could lead to some accidental harvesting on the conservation land. So Penny, as I talked with Tim Hunting today about the idea of having the highway department put a couple of boulders blocking that access point. He can't do it for a couple of weeks. So for the next couple of weeks, it's still going to be open. I had the thought that perhaps, I could jimmy up a temporary wooden sign and stake it in and post that road, if the commission wanted it posted, or some other action. So that is the issue. I did find at first I thought he was going down that steep road. I don't know if you guys know Southbrook, but there's a very steep path that winds down to a wetland and goes over a little footbridge. And at first I thought, oh my God, is he going down that thing and going over the little footbridge? But no, he's not doing that. He's taking a left-hand branch. And so this is off of Locks Pond Road. It's that wide path that you access from Locks Pond Road, if you know the parcel. So I know that the CPA project with the Open Space Committee plans to put up some signage and consider posting the property, indicating what kinds of vehicles or uses are permitted and not permitted, which is great, but that's not going to happen for a while, right, Penny?
Well, no, but I will just give you an update that Liam Cregan is starting to map the trails with the intent of making a usable trail map for visitors to the site. And at the same time, he'll be assessing the trails for appropriate uses for each one and potentially suggesting new trails or connections between trails that don't exist now. And when that is done, part of that whole process will be to post a map and add some new signage. I'm happy to screen share with you the draft of the signage. Basically, it's like.
Penny, can I just ask you a question before you do that? Is Liam is not mapping anything related to the mountain biking proposal? Is that correct?
No, that is not within his purview. He is mapping he is doing the project that I submitted to the Southbrook property, which is to map the existing trails, to assess each trail for what use is appropriate, to recommend if there are any trails that need remediation, and to potentially propose new trails, but nothing having to, these are all hiking trails.
Okay. Go ahead and, can you still screen share?
No, I'm on a different computer. Can you make me co-host again for just a minute?
Sure.
I'm glad you were there, Miriam, and saw him, and at least tried to stop him.
Yeah, really.
It's been a week.
Oh.
Well, I'm not sure what kind of, I'm not sure what kind of permit that he has for commercial harvesting of mountain laurel at this time of the year. Mountain laurel is harvested for Christmas wreaths, and it's usually done in December. So
well, they're making them now, Don.
Okay, so
I
I'm
can
a little,
verify that firsthand from a conversation with a wreath maker today.
okay.
Uh-huh.
But,
So
but that's
I'm a
really
little,
not the issue.
no, I'm just a little curious as to what kind of permit that he actually has. That's all.
So Miriam, do you know who the person is?
Yes.
So is there any way we can recommend that the officer in charge notify him that they can't drive through there?
If the officer in charge confirms that we can do that legally, if it's not posted, that's the question. I don't know if we have that authority. That's why I was going to ask her. Does anybody know offhand?
I would think Beth may know better. I would think though that if it's under Conservation Commission management, you guys can decide whether there is motor vehicle traffic or not. And if you haven't voted on it, I don't know if you're allowed to vote on it tonight or if you'd have to wait and put it on an agenda first.
I don't remember there was ever any discussion about needing to post a public meeting regarding rules for the site that's owned by the Conservation Commission.
Okay.
But
I mean, if it's an issue of kind of an emergency circumstance because we think the property is at risk and we need to take some action, seems like we have a basis for doing that. because, we didn't anticipate that this was happening today and, that he intends to keep doing it.
So again, if we can't get it posted right away, maybe she would be willing to at least call him and say, it will be posted and it's not something he should be doing, just as
Oh,
a
what
as a
about-
courtesy,
Yeah, so how about a first step, we make a motion that that the Conservation Commission determine that motor vehicle use is not allowed except for snowmobiles, which we have permitted in the past.
Except for all of the
Snowmobiles.
properties, Miriam?
What?
Is that for all Conservation Commission
Well, let's just say for
administered
Southbrook,
properties that
for
we're talking
Southbrook
about?
Conservation Area,
I'm sorry?
for Southbrook Conservation Area.
I'm just wondering, are we looking at all the properties consistently or just this one property?
I don't know if there are any others besides this one. Is there, Penny?
Yes, there are other properties. I would say the guidelines are so far, not that we've done much of this, but they are specific to the site.
So I guess I would be curious in looking at this more holistically with all the properties.
Well, there are
If
other,
we want to make the,
yeah, there are no other properties on which there are trails and
Drivable areas.
And I might add that one of the concerns that the officer in charge has brought up before is that there is ATV use on this tract, but that she didn't feel as she had the grounds for enforcing anything about it. So I think that if we made it a rule that these kind of motor vehicles are not allowed, that might make her job easier.
I'm supportive of moving towards no motorized vehicles on the properties. I'm just thinking that rather than single this one property out, that, it would be an opportunity to look at all the properties together and deal with them consistently.
So since there hasn't been a second yet for my motion, I'm going to amend my motion saying that we determine that motor vehicles, except for snowmobiles, are not an allowed use on any Conservation Commission managed areas.
I'll second that.
Okay.
There.
Okay, so I will have a roll call for that. David?
Aye.
Stefan? Aye. Harrington?
Hi.
Khan?
Hi.
Wilson?
Aye.
Why isn't Stefan talking? All right, so I guess the next question is, one, do we want me to communicate this to the officer in charge, Officer Burgess, and see if she can speak with this individual? And two, do we want to put up a temporary posting until rocks can be put in place? So first would be the officer in charge. Do we want to do that?
I recommend that we ask her to do it. At least it's one more, if he doesn't comply, it's just one more person. She may not be able to enforce it, but again, coming from her before we posted, it
Okay,
still is.
do we need a motion for this?
I don't know why we need a motion.
Do we need a motion or any objections?
No.
Objections, okay. Any suggestions? Okay, all right, so I will do that. Next will be, do we want to put up any signage?
I'm thinking that perhaps signage until we can get the boulders in place may not be a bad idea, because then if somebody does go down and they're caught, it's like there was a sign that said you can't come down here in your truck.
Okay, I've got some plywood and some stakes on and I can do a little craft project and put it up, and I would just basically say Southbrook Conservation Area, and basically no motorized vehicles except snowmobiles allowed.
And Miriam, where are you gonna place those signs?
I would probably do 2 signs. I would place one on the entrance at Locks Pond Road where this truck was coming in. And then I'd probably put one over by Randall Road.
And
I'm
I
not
would be happy to help you. I know the first one sounds like it's right near the road, so it's not gonna bother my knee. I'm not gonna have to go hiking. And if the
Yeah.
second one is something that's pretty easy for us to access, I'm happy to help you put them
Okay.
in.
All right, thanks. All right. Okay, a craft project. I love
Okay,
it.
and in the interim, I'm gonna sign off in just
Oh,
a
yeah.
minute and let you finish your meeting,
Right.
but
Thank you. Penny.
I will send you the draft of the sign. Well, it's basically the rules for South Brook.
Yeah.
So that you can discuss them more in depth when you have more time at another meeting.
Okay.
Okay, thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Okay.
Penny.
Penny. All right, so Mark and LWAC, please. I'm sorry it's been a late night.
Okay, no problem at all, Penny. I mean, no problem at all. So where do we start here? I guess let's talk about the stormwater runoff into Lake Viola. Over the years, the amount of erosion coming into Lake Viola has significantly increased with, and on multiple sides of the lake. And so the Lake Viola Advisory Committee was trying to address some of these issues, but we don't really have the horsepower or the expertise to get the funding needed to develop a plan. So we proposed to the select board that a separate stormwater runoff committee or erosion control committee be formed, and they were against the idea of it. And so the second proposal, and Mary Scott volunteered the Conservation Commission to form a joint committee between LWAC and CONCOM. And the goal here is to develop a plan or secure funding, apply for funding, to develop a plan that would significantly reduce stormwater runoff into the lake. And the idea here is that some of the land is owned by the association and some of the land is owned by the town. And if we had an overall plan of what needs to be done, a detailed plan that says, okay, we do this here and we do that there, the individual groups responsible for the particular section of land would effectively take care of it. So you have a bunch of little components that help the lake out. Right now, the association is doing some things as best they can, but it's just it's hit or miss. They're doing a good job, but it's not a based upon a good study, I should say. And so the idea here is that we would get a few members from CONCOM and a few members from the Lake Viola Advisory Committee together and look for grants to develop a plan. So that's kind of where we are right now.
So the
And that plan basically was also supported by the select board when we had our conversations with them.
Yeah, so the ask right now is for the CONCOM to appoint a working group or a subcommittee in conjunction with LWAC to work on developing, possibly looking at funding sources and grant applications and the like. That's the consideration, and we would, we want to, if we vote to create this, we want to know what, if any, commissioners would be willing to volunteer for it. And because it will be a working group, these will be open meetings, so they'll have to be posted, you'll have to take minutes, all of that stuff. What do you guys think?
I think it's a great idea. Do I have time to volunteer? That I'm not so sure about. But I think it's great. And I can think of some grants right away that have to do with stormwater that I can at least provide information about. I
Okay.
can't really join another committee at this point, I don't think.
Could
but I
you go
provide
to a committee meeting and give them some information maybe?
Sure, yeah, definitely.
Okay. Does anybody else feel like they have the wherewithal to be in a working group like this?
No.
I had volunteered on Lake Whale on the advisory committee side when we were talking about it.
I certainly have the experience working on the roads and doing repairs like that, as well as the stormwater. But I continue to work for DCR, and I think there's a conflict of interest here for me.
So can you just tell me why it would be a conflict of interest as opposed to a collaboration, maybe? I don't know what you do, so it's just.
So in my work for DCR, I do a lot of stuff with dirt roads in the parks, repairs, that sort of thing. But it's always with the approval of supervisors that are far above my pay grade. I think what I'd have to do is I'd have to get clearance from DCR to participate in a committee like that. I could find out and
Wait, Don,
get back.
I can't understand why it would be technically a conflict unless the issue was around stormwater around the DCR park.
That's the problem, is that this is the same problem that Scott Campbell had back when he wrote the original suggestions for a stormwater plan, is that DCR has the state park at one end, yeah, but the resource area is one big resource area. It's Lake Wyola. So any actions that I might recommend or work that I might help, but I can certainly point you in the right, just like Beth says, there are numerous grants with DER and DEP that are available for this sort of thing. And frankly, it seems like that's what they need to work on, is developing what grants they're going to apply for and to who. So it doesn't really call for somebody who knows how to fix dirt roads. It calls for an engineering firm. So I question whether or not I'd be of any help. I can't offer advice.
Mark, are the board of the Lake Wyola Association in support of this?
They're absolutely supportive of it, and because they're spending, not a lot of money, but they have a small budget, but they spend a significant portion of their budget maintaining the roads right now, and they would be enthusiastic about eventually reducing that. So focusing their spending over a number of years on specific little projects that would have a long-term impact, like retention ponds and things like that. So they would definitely be enthusiastic.
Sounds like, I'm not hearing a lot of energy around this, that it may not be possible for us to put a commissioner or a couple of commissioners on a working group like this. But I'm wondering, if this could be done within the structure of LWAC, if, Beth could come to an LWAC meeting and give some guidance, and, maybe Don could come to an LWAC, and I could come, and some other people could just come to some LWAC meetings and help support you as a committee and taking this on. So that there's maybe better coordination between the Concom and LWAC. How would that sound?
It's not what I had hoped for, to be honest with you, because we've been struggling with this for years, but certainly with some guidance, we would look for any help we could get. Originally I was hoping a select board would appoint an independent commission, and there's definitely people in town who have the skill set and who are familiar with the process of applying for grants. And I was a little disappointed that the select board chose not to support it, because quite frankly, LWAC has been trying to do something for a number of years, and we just don't have the expertise on staff.
We can also, keep putting this on our agenda and having LWAC representatives come meet with us within the context of your public meetings, your open meetings, and our open meetings. Maybe without forming a separate working group, we can just try to work together by putting this on as an agenda item for the whole commission. How would that sound? At least for now, and then maybe things will change.
That sounds like
if we could.
Somebody's saying something else. Kat, who else?
That was me saying that sounds like a very reasonable accommodation to me.
Okay, so I'll tell you what, Mark, we will put this on our agenda for 10/28. And I'll let you know when I think that might be in the meeting time, and we can have a little bit more discussion. We'll just try to keep this process going.
And maybe we can get more LWAC members to show up.
Okay, well, you're here. We appreciate that. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
Okay, we still have some business to cover tonight. Let me look. Let's just knock off a few of the kind of low-hanging fruit issues. So
Can I jump in one more time?
Yeah, go ahead.
Did you want to discuss the land management agreement proposal, or you want?
I don't think we can get into it tonight.
Okay.
But I did, while we're here though, there has been a suggestion of having a site visit on the 26th of October at 10 a.m. down at the town boat launch with a representative from Fishery and Wildlife. It's right? Fish and Wildlife, I got that right?
Fish and Wildlife.
Okay, Fish and Wildlife.
Yep.
So, so if commissioners can come to that, that would be great.
What's the date again?
What day of the week? Is that a Tuesday, I think?
It's a Tuesday.
I understand that a lot of commissioners will not be able to make it because it's during the workday. So we'll make this an initial site visit for whoever can come, and then we'll try to set up another site visit either late in the day or on a weekend, maybe piggybacking with some other site visits for other commissioners who want to come and take a look.
What time?
10 a.m. I think is the plan.
Will you send an email sort of reminding?
Can you
Yes.
share the proposal too before that?
I think that was forwarded to everybody, wasn't it? Well, all we got was a memorandum of understanding document. So we'll have to get more details, and I think we'll have to have, is his first name Doug Cameron?
Doug Cameron, yes.
I think we'll have to have him come to a Concom meeting to talk about it. So maybe if we can fit it into the 28th agenda, let's try to invite him to come. It seemed like he was willing to come to a Concom meeting. So then we can hear from him more and ask more questions. Okay.
Yep.
That's not all right? Okay.
Yep.
So we have some site visit building permits that needed to be signed off, and I think actually they've already been signed off, but there was the Ames Haven building permit that's, I think Scott, you did that, right? Or or Beth did it. Beth did it.
Yeah, I did. Yep. I actually, I did fill it out. I need to scan it and email it to everybody or to whoever stores those.
Yeah.
But I don't know, did you want to hear a summary of that site visit
Yeah,
or?
that's great.
Okay, yeah, I met with, I guess his name is Joe Coffin out there, and the entranceway to the house actually had already been built. But when I got there, it was just a new stairwell on, some cement piers going down to a cement pad. And it was already built. And there were no wetlands definitely within 100 feet, and no rivers within 200 feet. So it was fine.
All right. Then there were, Don and I went to 45 Schoolhouse Road where they're gonna be putting in a 2-car garage. There were some wetlands on the property. Don and I got a tape measure out and measured it, and the closest limit of work was gonna be 110 feet from the wetlands, so I think that project was okay. Then we went to 56 Pratt-Carter Road, Michael DeCara and Lucy Gertz. They're putting in a screened porch addition. There's no wetlands anywhere near it, so they're okay. And then Don and I went to Stephen Dalmas's house. This is the RDA driveway, just to confirm the erosion controls were in place before they began work, and everything was in place as promised. So those are those. Trying to look if there's anything more. We do have a couple of site visits we need to schedule. And the only one I think that is really an issue that's pressing now is 71 Leonard Road, a building permit. So I will, either I or Penny will contact the landowner. When would be a time that the commission would like to meet next week? Do you want to try to do a later in the day time?
Works for me.
What time works for you, Beth?
Anytime after 3:30.
Oh, you can do it earlier then.
Yeah, we can do it
Nice.
anytime after 3:30.
So what about Wednesday at, I don't know. Scott, what about you for site visits? I feel like you get excluded from these because of their timing of things.
Yeah. Next week, anytime after, I think my last meetings wrap up at 4:30. So be getting close to 4:45 or so before I could be there.
Okay. What if we do Wednesday, the 20th at 5 p.m.? That work?
I'll check my calendar. I don't have it in front of me, but I don't think I have anything.
Okay. Well, I'll send that off to Penny, see if we can get this confirmed with the landowner. I think that'll be enough time for us to get it confirmed. And I'll send a confirmation to everybody when I know for sure that we're good to go.
Okay.
And we have on the agenda the Sumner Mountain monitoring visit. I don't know what we have to do with it. It was received. Do we have to approve it? Anybody know? I have no idea.
Isn't it just a reiteration of last year's report and the one before that, essentially saying that nothing has changed on the site?
Right.
I mean, you have to all have read it. It has to look like last year's, which means you got to read last year's. And then if you agree with it, I mean, you could also do site visit, but you sent a representative to do that site visit already.
Right.
Right. You had a guy go up there and climb up the mountain and look at this site.
Right. So do we need to approve something though, Don? I couldn't quite hear you. Were
As far as I know, all it has to do is read the same way as it did as the last report. You have to compare the two. there have been no changes, then you approve the report. If there have been changes, that means the commission has to do a site visit.
So I haven't read the report from last year. So I'd have to get that and send it out to everybody. So we'll table that and I'll try to get a copy of the report sent out to everybody.
Yeah.
Not all right? Okay, we'll do that. We're gonna table it. Okay, I'm just looking to see what we've missed before we talk about the enforcement order. I don't see.
DEP appeal.
Oh, yes. Okay, so that's important. Has everybody had a chance to read the appeal decision?
Yep.
I think the takeaway from that I took was that they are requiring a change in the design as we approved it, because they're saying it can't be a permanent pipe all summer long. It has to be a flexible hose that gets taken out. So I think in the spring, well, we should reach out to the landowner and Gribco's and ask them to schedule a site visit with us once they've set up the new system and have designed it, so we can take a look at it. Does
That makes sense, because I remember at the site visit them saying, well, you should replace this with the flexible pipe. You shouldn't have this in all the time. And they seem very willing to do that.
Okay.
On the side, I just had a question.
Yeah.
And we probably should have asked at the time, but it wasn't the purpose of the visit. But a lot of the information that he talked about with them had to do with, permitting of docks and into the lake, and that they're actually supposed to be licensed under Chapter 91, if that's right. Which I know it's come up before with people doing that, but that doesn't fall under our purview. It falls under their purviews, and they are supposed to be licensed. But nobody really wants to address what goes on with all the people out there that aren't licensed.
Well, the Gribco's after that meeting sent us all the documentation, and both of their docks are licensed. So they were on it. So I don't think that there's any action we can take regarding them.
Yeah, that's a
And
standard.
this was a bigger, this question really isn't just about them. It's about all of the people that have docks out there that don't have licenses.
Yes.
Every time DEP receives a request, they review whether or not there's a license filed for a dock. They do that for every property that you guys get involved with down at the lake. Doesn't matter whether it's for irrigation or for some project that's going on. That's just standard with DEP. That they're trying to rake in money.
It doesn't appear that they do that. And I think he admitted that there's many properties out there now that don't have licenses.
That's right, especially the removable docks.
All right. One thing
It's a question for later that I think, I
think it's a bigger question. Yeah, and I think it's a bigger question, but we can consider it in the future again. One thing that he said, Dave Cameron, at this meeting, which I thought was interesting, and I just want to share with the commission, which was that he was cautioning us about being too handy or easy with issuing RDA determinations of applicability number 3s with conditions, because he said basically it's essentially issuing a permit without there being a permit, is what he said. And because the permit conditions are not, you don't have as much flexibility and control with a negative number 3, he was saying he thought it was cleaner to require NOIs. And, we've been, as a principal down at the lake, not requiring NOIs because they're more time consuming and more expensive for the applicants. And we thought we could use the RDA structure, but he was actually cautioning against it. And I said to him, well, Mark Stinson's been advising us to use this. And he said, well, I'm going to have a talk with Mark. I'm his supervisor. Like, okay, I'm not getting into that. But I just, something for us to be thinking about when we're trying to decide where we have the flexibility between RDA, or we're saying reaching a negative to number 3, or requiring an NOI as part of the RDA process.
Miriam, this is Janice. Can you, I don't understand that 3 is in a resource area, is in a buffer zone, but won't affect the resource area. Is that what the negative 3 is?
3 is that was a negative impact, but they're with conditions. And so basically, I think what he was saying is you're basically saying that it will have an impact unless you do these conditions.
Yeah, and why isn't that okay to do as a request? I mean, as a
think
determination.
he was saying it was a cleaner enforcement tool if you have it be an NOI, because it gets attached to the deed. So if somebody sells their property, those conditions continue, and you can have more follow-up conditions like, they have to come back to you at a certain point, or review things, or get a certificate of compliance. That there's just not as much leeway with an RDA.
Some people I've noticed, some towns or commissions can require or do require the applicant to record the determination. So, I mean, that's another thing to consider. You can have them record anything. It doesn't have to be an order of conditions. Just normally determinations aren't required to be recorded, but it could be one of your conditions to do it, just as a, another thought or something.
But also put in conditions that requiring the applicant to come back to us to verify that they actually complied with the condition.
Okay.
So maybe we need to do that as another strategy also. Anyway, in the future, it's hypotheticals. All right, so let's go back to the enforcement order. And what I did, because the text was not fitting into the document, I cut and pasted into a Word doc. So we could actually look at it a little bit more carefully. And then I can say see attached. So can I screen share this with you guys?
Sure.
Let me try it. Screen share. Come on, screen share. And it was document 8 or 9. It's document. Hold on one second. I gotta see. How do I get out of doing this now? Hold on one second. It's document 9. I don't want to share the wrong document. You guys will see my tax return. So funny. Okay.
And I should just let you know, I'm going to have to get off of this meeting in about 10 minutes. So if there's something it sounds like you have a quorum. So if you need a vote or whatever, you're probably okay. I'm just alerting you.
All right. So we kind of went through all this wording about what was the description of the grounds for the enforcement. Right? We did that. We kind of went through that language. So I think what we've gotten to is what are we requiring? And we're not requiring an NOI per Mark Stinson's recommendations. On the form, and I'd have to switch back to the form, one of the things it requires are some dates for when things have to be done. So I think we need to separate out when we want the applicant, or we want Joe to give us a plan of what he's going to do. And then when do we want it completed and what phases? So the first step is the planting plan. The planting and restoration plan, which was part of the first RDA orders. When do we want that submitted? I was thinking, is it too soon to ask for it by the next meeting? This was something that was required before construction was supposed to happen.
So
Well,
you
this
would think they were already thinking about it, so.
Yeah.
should have been.
That seems reasonable to me.
Okay, so I'll have to play around with the wording, but by 10/28. And do we want us, we want it to be a site plan showing where what's going to be, where the work is going to be, planting is going to be done?
I think it's the only way to really tell what you're talking about.
Okay. And I would say it should, okay, so that's that. Another method, the next issue is the preliminary erosion controls and slope stabilization. What do we want him to do?
Just personally, I think that it needs more than a straw wattle on the side next to the river. That just a straw wattle, it just isn't enough. You need that silt fence entrenched.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Limit of work should include a trenched,
Or entrenched, I think is what they usually use, ENTR. I don't know why, but
entrenched silt fence with wattles?
yes.
Or with straw wattles?
Yep.
Okay. What about on the south and eastern, the west and the eastern and western areas of the
All
septic?
bare soils should be covered with yellow straw.
All bare soils?
Will that be enough for the slopes, Don, do you think?
I'm more concerned what's gonna happen when he brings more equipment in there in the future, but you're right. Those slopes are steep, but you gotta do something before that we're gonna get more rain soon.
Mm-hmm.
What about
The straw blankets.
erosion mats?
Either erosion mats as a long-term solution, but you need something to be in there right now to stop the runoff ditches that are on the back side of that hill.
Okay, so what do we want? Which way do you want to go?
Nothing wrong with a combination of both.
Mats and straw. You said yellow straw? Is that
Yellow straw, not mulch hay.
Hey, can I just ask a question?
Sure.
I filled in those ruts today and seeded them and put the yellow straw down in all of that hill area. And I also put a wattle, and I don't know if it's all right, on the top of the hill. So any water that would drain down the hill would slow down. I don't know if that's what you were talking about, because I added an extra wattle at the top of the hill to slow down that erosion on that one area would have pretty much. But I
Joe,
did.
they're just putting it in writing.
Oh,
That's
no,
all.
I just wanted to make sure if you want it and you're writing it, and I don't mind doing anything you put on there, because a lot of what you're putting on I've been doing it.
So, well, we're gonna talk right now.
All right.
Not requiring a erosion control along the edge of the road, so to keep runoff from the road entering the property.
That may have to be something that's removable so he can access the site to park or what, or how would you do that?
Erosion stocks?
I mean, again, I think that yellow straw is the fastest method there. He's gonna be bringing vehicles in and out.
Yep.
Well, it's not all, okay.
You're just trying to slow down and stop the watershed that's coming off the road and allow that grass that he's planted to act as a filter strip.
Okay.
So why don't you do A, B, C's, and D so you know where you're talking about?
Yeah.
Because when you write it all out, you start to get confused which one you're
Right.
talking about.
Or
Or just list them separately when you're.
I mean, like the north side, the south side, the east
Yes, the
side, the
north
west
side,
side?
yes, so that,
So the southern limited work will include an entrenched silt fence with straw wattles. So the all bare soils will be covered, not or shall be covered with erosion mats and yellow straw, yellow straw, not mulch hay. And then if there are any more we want for erosion controls, there is, some erosion happening around the foundation and the septic system right there in that spot. But I guess that would be bare soils.
so I don't know which limit it is back to where the culvert is on that side. Is that the
West.
west? Okay, that's the western area.
And he's put some riprap there, but it wasn't sufficient. There's an area a little bit farther on the northern edge of where he put the riprap that's still a problem.
So what would he like to put there then?
Well, he'd put straw or erosion mats because it's a bare soil.
But it's not all bare soil, so do we want something else there
I think
in
it,
that area?
He put wattles around it already.
okay. All right.
But if he put it, should we put it down here? This is documentation now. If he went ahead and put wattles.
Aren't we saying that here, the erosion mats are straw?
Yeah, I like what Mary's saying.
Okay.
He needs to maintain the perimeter of straw wattles.
Okay, the landowner will maintain and repair as necessary. What was that again? The
Perimeter
of straw
straw wattles.
wattles to ensure the functioning of the erosion controls. Sound all right? So if there's heavy rain, things get washed away, he's going to need to come back and repair those things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
While we're up here on number 1, where we asked for a planting and restoration plan, do we want him to do any repair work on the southern slope of the septic system where it's starting to erode and some of the topsoil's washed out?
Yes.
So on the southern slope, well, on any of the slopes, really, on any portion of the septic system where erosion or insufficient vegetation exists, the landowner will apply reseeding and straw, yellow straw.
Yep.
Okay. Repeated reseeding will take place as needed until the site is permanently vegetated, because some of that grass may not come back. It may be annual grass, and you may have a lot more holes next year where perennials didn't take hold.
Yep.
Okay. Back here, now we're in the restoration. Is there any more we need to do about erosion controls and slope stabilization?
I just had a question or maybe a clarification.
Yeah.
What do you mean when you say erosion mats? Do you mean like the straw blankets that
Yeah,
are netting or something with straw,
Yeah,
or
that's what
or
they
what?
are. They're just
Okay.
thin, they're thin, they're not very thick. They're thin woven mats of straw. Sometimes it's coconut coir
Yeah,
fiber.
coir,
you know.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
So biodegradable erosion
It's
mats.
biodegradable erosion mats, yeah.
Well, the ones that are straw are often have the plastic netting. Maybe you don't want those, but I'm just saying those aren't biodegradable, so maybe.
We'll say
it wouldn't be-
biodegradable erosion mats.
Okay,
Now, you know, if we're saying that the site has been disturbed and, you know, is not in its original condition, and we want there to be an order to restore the area. This is what I put down, but let's change. I have restored driveway and lawn area around the septic system and the house foundation to its original condition.
what is it, its original condition?
Well, I imagine it was vegetated. Do we want him to give us a plan for a proposed restoration plan?
I'm just wondering with original condition, whether you're referring to the vegetation or slope grading, just to try to be specific, or whether what you want is it to be stabilized, you know, restored to a stabilized condition, you know, with
Well, one of
vegetation,
the
or
issues-
whether it's grading too.
One of the issues was that we did not approve any changes to the driveway.
Yeah. Mhm.
So, you know, now that there's this ramp going around the house down to the foundation, we don't want that to become a permanent driveway structure that we haven't approved.
Yeah. So does that mean that you're asking him to restore the grade in that area or just to stabilize it? I'm just trying to make sure it's clear for me and also,
Well,
yeah.
probably both.
Maybe it's restore and stabilize.
I would definitely say sort of stabilize, because one of our very first visit there, it was really steep. There wasn't a real driveway, and I remember pulling in and actually having a lot of trouble backing out because it was really steep right there. And this time I noticed things were pretty flat out near the road, and several cars could pull in and safely be there. So I actually felt that that was an improvement. But
Yeah, that's not the area I'm thinking about, Robin. I'm talking about like over on the east side of the foundation, down to the where the
okay.
That hill was
ramp.
always
There's like
there.
a ramp there now.
That ramp was always there. And this had a tree in the way, but it was always there even when I bought the property. I plan on
But it
after I
wasn't a
put,
driveway.
well, when I get done, it won't be, the driveway is gonna be just parking by the road. That's not gonna be a driveway.
Right, so this is why we're just trying to figure out how to word this.
Now,
What-
my question is, and with the board, and I appreciate all the stuff, but so I'd like to put a foundation in, and once the foundation is, then I can build a stone wall and not make that, because the height of the foundation, and once you put the new foundation in, it's gonna change that where it's not a driveway anymore.
So
Joe, we can't talk about that because that
Right.
would be a notice of.
that's a
intent.
different project.
Okay, all right.
We're not
So,
addressing that right
How
now.
about instead of restore, you say stabilize the driveway area?
Well,
Because restoring implies you're gonna plant trees there.
well, right. I mean, I guess this is my thought about it, Don, was that in the original design, the driveway was confined to the area at the top of the property. And that we want to reaffirm that that is what was approved, and any change to that still has to be submitted to
Yes,
us for approval. So
right.
I
that's
think
what
I think it's hard to put restore in now when you know he's gonna have
Yeah.
to drive down there to rebuild the house.
Right.
So I think really what we're looking for is stabilizing it while he's doing whatever other work he has.
But we're not approving that other work, and that work isn't here. So we're not approving any of that. We're basically acting as if we don't know that. That's the kind of impression I got from Mark, is that we just deal with what's before us, that we don't kind of make this order about something that hasn't happened yet.
But I think that's why you have to put stabilize and not restore, because
Right.
he's not gonna restore it and then destroy it again when he puts his permit in.
I understand that, but this is an enforcement order. So we're alleging that he's damaged something. And so we're asking for the mitigation. he's changed the slopes and he's, you know, changed the resource area. So are we saying, you know, what do we want that to look like? If, let's say he decided not to build the house, what do we want that area to look like? I guess that's what I'm saying. Let's say that nothing more happens on this site. He doesn't demolish the foundation. He doesn't do anything else. What do we want the rest of that area to look like? Because that's really what we should be considering here, I think.
And I need to alert you that in 3 minutes at 9:30, I have another commitment. I assumed that this meeting would have been over by then. I'm really sorry, but just when you see me disappear, I don't want you shocked.
No, it's okay. Thank you, Robin. Thank you. Okay, well, how do you guys want this written? To say we've already kind of said that the slopes need to be stabilized. So I guess I'm wanting to know, do we remove this altogether?
I mean, our biggest concern is damage to the resource area. So stabilizing stops further damage. Restore, I just don't know how to enforce that. I know the language is not right, but just forgetting about any other work he's going to do in there. I'm just talking about the erosion and the soil that's there now. You have to do something to stop that erosion.
Right. So you're saying the erosion controls and straws enough, and then he doesn't need to reseed any of that.
I don't think he needs to reseed it, but he has to put down something to stop water movement. That would be the yellow straw. And that's why the bare soils.
Okay.
Well, why not reseed it? Because you said that he's still going to be using that area.
You have a very short window now where
Yeah.
you could reseed it. That's
What I
right.
was thinking. Yeah, until like the beginning of November or something like that.
That's right. You could do that.
Just in case he doesn't get his ZBA permit, doesn't get the Concom permit
Right.
and everything
So
before.
areas of disturbed soils will be reseeded with a conservation mix. The label for the seed will be provided. We'll say pictures, images.
A common practice that Mr. Clark does after he's excavated or been in an area and he's ripped up the soil is to throw down conservation seed mix and then cover it with yellow straw.
Okay, so let's get some dates for when all of this needs to happen. Going back up here, we've got a restoration plan that comes to us by the 28th. I was thinking that all of these other things would need to be done by November 1st.
Yes.
I think
Yeah.
that's reasonable.
Yeah, because we're running out of time. We're
Yeah.
living on borrowed time here for the weather.
11/1/21. So, and then preliminary, to be completed by 11/1/21. And then we did that one. Okay, so all of this, I think we can get rid of because we've already basically said it.
Okay.
Is that correct?
Yeah, I think we already addressed it all up above.
Okay. So do we want to,
Do we want to go out and relook? Well, I don't know.
when work is completed?
Yeah, do we want to relook at it?
Yeah.
The Conservation Commission reserves the right to conduct a site inspection.
Maybe when you say when this work is completed, because otherwise it's not clear which work.
Okay.
You know, the house, the new work, whatever, yeah.
So is this all clear?
I think you've done a good job. It's pretty difficult to explain.
Yeah, you certainly can't hit every single point that we might notice in the future, so.
Okay. Addendum to EO. Okay, I'm gonna save this as the addendum to the EO. Now, what I want to do, because I have a couple of questions for you guys, is I'm gonna go back to the draft and I'm gonna share the draft, okay?
Mhm.
I know it's late and I'm sorry. We're keeping everybody this late. It's not fun, but we do what we do here. So here's the document, okay? And I just want to go through, make sure it filled. So this part, I think is pretty clear that our findings are that it, you all see this?
Yeah.
Okay, so our findings are that, the area is subject to our jurisdiction. I reference the negative determination of applicability. Then here in the order, stop it, cease and desist, a restoration plan. So here's, we're not requiring that.
Well, I thought you were.
How about if I say, shall be filed by, how about if I change a restoration plan subject? See, this was this written plan.
I think that's good to have. That part's good to have in there.
Okay.
For specifically saying this was required under the notice, under the determination.
Including a site plan. We need to see a site plan where everything is.
Yeah.
By November 1st, and the work has to be done by November 1st, which we have. So here's the order. So I'm just going to say, you're going to take the following actions, see attachment.
Yep.
And then that's going to be the text that we had just approved. And then I need everybody's signatures. They say contact person. Ay.
Yeah, someone has to be that.
Okay, I'll be the person. Because we just don't know.
Yeah.
That person, hours a day, we'll say 10 to 12. Monday through Friday.
Yeah, not the weekends.
Okay. So do I have everybody's permission to put these signatures?
Can you just scroll up to section C? Did you remove that check that was on the complete the attached notice of intent? I was just checking to see. Okay, good. Okay. Yep.
Okay, so first, I guess we have to have a motion to approve this. Okay, I'll move that the commission approve this enforcement order as amended. Do we have a second?
Second, Mary.
Okay, David,
Aye.
Stefan, I. No Harrington, or do we still have a Harrington? No Harrington.
Gone.
Okay, Con,
Aye.
Wilson.
Aye.
Okay, I'll fill in people's signatures. All right, and I will close this. So, Joe, do you have any questions for us about this?
Yeah, give me 1 second. I gotta get out. I gotta. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, I don't know if I had shut it off because my dog was barking. On the back hill, I already filled in, put on the straw on it with the sock on the top. But what I'd really like, and I don't know if I can do this, is the only thing I got left to do is do the parking area. You want that done too, because I didn't do the parking area. And I was thinking of putting a row of bales of straw across where you considered a driveway. So that would slow any water down on top of all that. But the driveway area I didn't do because I thought because you're parking cars on it that you don't want to drive on it, but I'll do that tomorrow. But what I'd really like, I don't know if anybody's available, just to take an overlook when I get it, before I get it all done, in case there's anything I missed. Is that
Well-
possible? I'll work with the board. I'll work with you guys. I'll do whatever you want me to do. I want to make sure I'm doing it right. So we're not going through this, I'm not gonna go through.
Yeah,
a
I
lot
mean,
of
we don't
stuff.
want to issue another, like, I guess I want to do this. I know this doesn't feel friendly, but we actually are trying, we want to do it in a friendly way.
I understand, and I do understand, and I just
So
want to make sure.
I don't want to be in a position, I don't think we're going to come out here on November 2nd and issue an enforcement order. I think what we would do is we would have you come back and have a conversation about what we're expecting if it didn't look sufficient.
Right.
But I don't know that we need to come out multiple times. I think, if you want, we're meeting on the 28th. If you want to draw up a design or take.
Well, I tried taking pictures. I was gonna send them to you of all the stuff that I worked on all day today.
Okay.
And I'm gonna go and put more stuff in after listening to what you want and picking
But
up.
we're not going to be able,
we're
Joe, we're not going to be able to go out to a site visit and then tell you, oh yeah, this is good, because that would be deliberating. We can go out and do a site visit and gather information and then bring it back to the commission, but we wouldn't be able to give you any guidance until our next meeting, which would be the 28th.
Well, and that's all right. I just wanted, I guess I was looking for some guidance just to make sure I didn't miss anything that, for what you think and what I think. But I covered all, covering all the dirt and everything. I understand all of that, but just want to make sure I do it right. That's all.
Okay, so we could do a site visit. But again, all it would be really just to document things and bring it back to the commission. So we're going to be doing a site visit on the 26th over at Brandel Road. Maybe that would be a good time. If you're available after that, we could come over and take a look at what you've got put in place. That gives you another week or so to work.
Yeah, that would be great, because I tried already with the pictures I took today, making some prints, and it doesn't really show the extent of the work.
Okay.
And I want to make sure that you get the right information, and by
Okay.
you doing a site visit, you're going to see it firsthand.
Okay, so I know that a lot of commissioners won't be able to come because it's at a funny time, but would that be okay? Or do you guys want to do a site visit late in the day so that more of you can come?
Sure,
Late in the day?
late in the day.
All right, when do you want to pick a date?
I mean,
We're
if we're-
talking about next Wednesday, so.
Right, you're talking about, you're gonna be at Randall Road at what time?
Well,
And 10
we-
o'clock.
we're doing Wednesday, October 20th at
That's Wednesday.
5 o'clock, right? We were talking about a building permit, right?
So that
So
works,
we could do 5:30.
that works.
Was that what we,
Me,
did we decide on 5 or 5:30 for that building permit? Does anybody remember?
I think we said 5.
Okay. All right, so we'll do, that's on Leonard Road, I think, and then come over here for 5:30. All right, is that okay with you?
That's
Joe?
on the 27th.
That's fine. I'll
20th.
work whatever schedule you,
No,
whatever I can
Wednesday,
do, I'll work with you.
so Janice, it's the 20th, Wednesday, the 20th.
Oh, okay.
Coming Wednesday.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So Joe, what we're gonna need to do is send you this by certified mail unless we can hand deliver it to you.
I'll stop at the town hall if that makes it easier, which way you want to do it. I mean, I'm available all the
Does
time.
it make a difference, Janice or Beth? Do you know? Can he pick it up? He'd have to sign for it?
Probably, yeah, I think he could pick it up and just have him sign for it somehow with a clerk or whoever's there.
Yeah, because our mail seems to work pretty slowly these days.
Oh, yeah.
I don't see a problem with him picking it up.
I just don't know legally because it's an enforcement order. It's supposed to be sent certified mail. Why don't we do this, Joe? I will email you a digital copy and then we'll send you one certified.
All right, that would be great. And thank you, everybody, for your help. I know everybody gets on what's going on, and I appreciate it. So
Thank you. Appreciate
thank
it.
you.
And Joe, just so you understand, this is the problem you've got, which is that you cannot build your foundation without the ZBA special permit.
No, I filled out, the other day, I went to the town hall and I filled out the paperwork for a special permit. And I gave it a check and filled out all the information. That's something I gotta go back to the town hall and check
Right.
on. Because
So
I
Joe,
printed-
let me just explain the process. So yes, that's true. You may have done that. They don't have Chuck didn't have it, but that doesn't mean you didn't do it. But they're not going to approve a special permit until you've applied for a notice of intent with the Concom and we have issued a permit, which is a time-consuming process. It's not something we can do in one meeting. It could be, we're talking about maybe a 2 to 3 month process between us and the special permit.
Right. Well,
So it's a
okay.
concern about the winter.
Yeah, because I was trying to get the foundation in while the ground was gonna be frozen so that if there was any machines afterwards, it wouldn't do any more damage. But I gotta do what I gotta do and.
And we might,
I'm-
and it's
it was my fault.
possible we wouldn't approve this until this, until after the holiday, winter season. We might
Right,
say
right,
that we can't begin construction until the spring or whatever.
Now, to get the paperwork for you, I have to get it online. Is that
um,
something that they have in the town hall that I can grab to fill out?
Lisa, do you know?
Let's see, what forms are you looking for?
For a notice of intent.
We have paper copies.
We have paper copies. I believe they're online on our website as well. You can download them, Joe.
All
This
right.
is where you're going to have to put an ad in the newspaper. You're going to have to get a list of the abutters from the assessor's office and then send out notices to the abutters.
Well, that's the same thing I did when I did the septic and actually the list for the abutters.
And then you're going to have a very detailed design plan to show us that's going to include both the design of what you're constructing and also what you're planning on doing with the landscaping and grading and planting around the property, the house. So we're going to have to be able to see what you want to do with all of that.
All right.
So you may need some design help. I don't know.
Yeah,
who-
well, I'm waiting right now from the barnyard sending me my blueprints. Because I'm having a post and beam building to replace the post and beam building that was there. But I'll get all the information. The only thing I'm working is the stone wall and that's up to my wife.
Right, so we'll have to see the layout of all of that and what
Right.
you're planning on doing. So it may be that you got to get all that designing done before you go to the trouble of filing for the NOI.
All
Because
right,
if
I
it's
can get that.
incomplete, we'll just put the whole thing on hold, asking you to get everything.
Yeah, I'll get what I can of that. But first, I'm gonna take care of the ground issue and then I'll take care of
Okay.
the.
All right, sounds like a plan. Thank you.
All right, thank you, guys. Have a good night. I know you had a long night.
Thanks.
Yeah.
So, guys, that was great. It's a late night. The last thing I just wanted to talk about was that we have Lisa's resignation.
So can I go back to put on for the next agenda for what we were just talking about? I do think we need to address whether or not the commission sends a letter to the contractor that worked with him that didn't advise him about putting all these, he should know to put all this stuff in effect too. And I do
I
think,
agree that we can't just have contractors doing whatever they please, whenever they want. I'm sorry, but we have guys putting in driveways around the lake that they're not advising their clients that they need to file. And then there's,
Changing it, putting berms in without our approval.
yeah,
I
I
think we
gotta
need to
agree
put
with
it on the
Mary.
agenda to talk about it and
Yeah, it should be a discussion.
It would be good to have a couple of examples of where we've run into some problems so we can be specific. So I know that this case of the demolition was an issue, but I know that there've been a couple, if we're sending a letter to, this is Clark's Excavating we're talking about.
Right.
We need to think about what other issues, or maybe just a general issue that, when they're working in a resource area or near a resource area, they need to advise their clients to come talk to us.
I mean, they know that.
well, it's for that too. It's the people that are, you know, installing docks on the lake that are having companies install them. They know the regulations.
Yeah, but
But
we can't, I mean, this is one known company that we,
I know, but like I said,
yeah,
if
no, I
there's,
think that's a work, I think it's worth our doing, and I maybe would say
maybe we
that's.
develop a standard letter that we can send out. This just happens to be one that's pretty
Yeah.
clear, but I think it happens all the
Right.
time.
Right, that's a good idea, I think. So it could be a standard, hey, we heard about this, we need to let you know. It makes them know that we're paying attention. So I think that's a good thing.
And just a note on that, in Amherst, we've had a couple situations when I was the wetlands administrator where we issued an enforcement order both to the landowner and then a similar one to the contractor. For what if there was,
You know, you could do that.
yeah,
So maybe we need to tell them that is a risk.
yeah. You could put that in the letter, just that, you know, if they continue to do it, we can issue you an enforcement order.
Okay, good, thank you. That's good. Becky Torres has reposted the position. And we're very sorry about this. Lisa, we're happy to have you here.
Oh, I actually really enjoyed it. It's just you guys have kind of a lot going on. Didn't quite match up with the duties that I have in Leverett as town clerk and select board clerk. So
yeah, I can understand that.
Yeah.
And I begged her to reconsider, but I suspect that's not gonna.
Yeah.
So the state of affairs is that Becky Torres, you know, there's a search committee, which is the 3 chairs and Becky. And she's reposted the position, and applications are due at the end of this month. She's posted it on the website, in the newspaper, and she posted it on the townwide email. If you have ideas or you want to repost it, if you have access to any listservs or any place where you think it might be worth posting, you know, I think you can just do that without changing the language of it. You know, we need, last time, you know, we had 4 applicants and 2 of them were just clearly not qualified or not appropriate. And so we were happy that we found Lisa and the other person. And we're just hoping we will get some applicants that will be good fits. You know, I threw out to Becky Torres the idea of, would it make sense to split these positions? Because our responsibilities are so different from the planning boards and the ZBAs. Chuck Damari had shared that in the past, it has been frustrating for the ZBA because they have to kind of work around our set schedule. And so they are sort of last in line for the land use clerk's time. And yeah.
Could I interject? The town, I know that Leverett is looking for a Concom agent also, and that our town administrator, Margie, has contacted the FERCog to see if that could be a position that they advertise as a shared position among many towns.
I raised that issue with Becky. And I was told that I didn't understand the reasons, but that was not possible. I'm friends with the chair of the Conservation Commission, Isaiah, in Leverett, and I had an email exchange with him where he said he was open to creative ideas.
Yeah.
But I got a pretty hard no.
Maybe that's the other piece, is that in Leverett, we don't have land use clerk. We have, well, like you said, they're separate.
Yeah.
And
Well,
planning and zoning actually don't even have clerks. They sort of juggle themselves.
That's why I had thought about dividing it, the hours, and let's say we had 10 hours for a Concom clerk, and then there was 8 hours between for a separate position, that maybe this would make it easier for us to find people who would fit.
Yeah.
And that maybe then if it was combined with another town, we could maybe increase the rate of pay and get somebody
Right.
who's got some wetlands credentials.
Right.
That would be my hope, but I got a very hard no about that. And I don't really know where to go with that at this point. I know Penny also raised the issue, and what I was told is it would be a very long process. It would have to go through the personnel board committee and then the FinCom and then the select board, and that it would not solve our immediate needs. So.
Well, I wish you all the best of luck.
In the meantime, what that is going to mean is that Penny is going to be able to work 4 hours a week, holding down the fort in the office, but she's not going to be able to attend meetings. So we are going to have to host our meetings and take our own minutes. So for the next meeting on the 28th, I am looking for a volunteer to take minutes. Don't call it wins. And we could do this on a rotating basis. It's a little hard for me to chair the meeting and to make minutes, but I could try. I don't know how else we can, we have to do it, so. Who's a good typer or who takes good, anybody here take good notes?
I don't mind doing it on a rotating basis. So I don't mind doing the next meeting.
Okay.
I used to do it in Amherst all the time, so I can certainly do it, but I don't think I want to do it at every meeting.
No. I think we should all do it. And I'm saying even me, but I think we all just need to take turns doing it. And
it is hard to do and pay attention and keep up, but it's also, if you do it a couple times, you get better at it. If you do it sporadically, you know, we jump around a lot and it's really hard to keep track. Have tried it a couple times. I'm not a good minute taker, but you know, I'm happy to try too if we need to do it.
Well, I won't lie. I think I am a good minute taker, but I don't think it's easy to talk and take minutes at the same time.
Yeah,
so.
you can't run the meeting and do it. It's, you know.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks, Beth, for doing that. And I don't think we have anything else. Let me just like quick look at whether I've missed anything. It's been a terrible, this has been a bear of a meeting. I can't wait until these ANRADs are all done so that we are not having meetings at 10 o'clock at night. I think that's it.
That would be nice, especially as it gets darker.
Yeah. All right. So somebody want to make a motion to adjourn at 9:55?
Motion to adjourn.
All right. David, second, that's seconds. Okay, David.
Aye.
Aye. Con.
Aye.
And Wilson.
All
right.
Thank
Well, Lisa, thank you. Lisa, this is it, your last day. You're not going to be working tomorrow. Is that right?
Well, I am going to do your minutes, but I'll probably be doing that from home.
Okay.
And I will email them to you.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
Okay. Good night.
Bye-bye.
Good night.